Chapter 989. With Page's help, the construction of the stronghold sped up. Streets were paved and buildings were erected one after another. The martial artists who were once suspicious of the sect of all times looked down at the busy disciples and realized that the stronghold of the falling star continent was built by them piece by piece. City Lord Han said, "If June Patriarch didn't come in first, we would have died on the battlefield." "That's right," Mu Changhong agreed. Entering the battlefield, who didn't make arrangements for the aftermath? Who didn't have the heart to die? However, not only were they fine, the other planes even ran away when they saw them. All of this. It was all because of Jun Changshao. It was definitely not an exaggeration to say that he had saved the entire falling star continent. The powerhouses had enough respect for Jun Changshao. It could be seen from the way they looked at him every time they saw him. Humans. They all had a heart of gratitude, but it was hard to arouse it normally. After staying in the floating mountain for a few more days, many powerhouses decided to return to the falling star continent. After all, they had seen and played here. It was time to go back and report their safety. Everyone. Jun Changshao said, "You can't leave for the time being because..." His expression suddenly became serious. The real test for the falling star continent to enter the battlefield is not over yet. City Lord Han was stunned. What's the real test? Jun Changshao glanced at the powerhouses in the training field and said in a meaningful tone, "The slaughtering field." The slaughtering field? Everyone's expression changed. Just from the name alone, it was not a good place. The upper realm has a rule that all planes that enter the battlefield must enter the slaughtering field to fight the other planes to the death. Otherwise, they will be severely punished, Jun Changshao said. He was not bragging. It was true. As long as a plane entered, no matter how strong or how big the stronghold was, they would have to enter the slaughtering field. It was just a matter of time. With the sect of all time's strength, entering the slaughtering field was not a problem. But since the experts of the continent have come, they must do their part. They can't always let my sect do the dirty work. Jun Patriarch. City Lord Han asked, "When will we enter the slaughtering Azura field?" "Within a year." "I'm not sure about the exact time," Jun Changshao said. The system said speechlessly, "Host, you're not asking them to do their part. You're asking them to help you complete the epic mission. Helping me is the same as helping the falling star continent. Is there a problem?" Jun Changshao asked. The system said, "No problem." The next day, Jun Changshao left the sect and entered the planar battlefield. Li Qingyang hurriedly reported, "Patriarch, the battlefield ghosts are here." Jun Changshao released his spiritual thoughts and found a few hundred of them outside the stronghold. He was speechless. "I've been doing my job recently. Why are they here again?" He had never fought or killed anyone before. But he went to the battlefield every day to steal fortuitous encounters. The higher realm would definitely not be able to resist. The battlefield ghosts that appeared this time were similar to before, but their overall strength was much higher. It seemed that the difficulty of punishing them had also increased. Inform the disciples to prepare for battle. Yes. Li Qingyang hurriedly went to work. In a short while, the sect's core disciples and upper echelons had all gathered. What are those outside? They don't seem to be humans. City Lord Han and the others stood on the floating mountain and looked at the seemingly incorporeal creatures outside the stronghold. They were all confused. "Father," Mu Honglian explained, "these are battlefield ghosts. They're very strong and equipped. What are they doing outside?" Mu Changhong asked. Mu Honglian said, "They're attacking our stronghold." Ah! Everyone was dumbfounded. City Lord Han frowned. The aura of these creatures is probably not weaker than ours. If they really attack the stronghold, it'll be very troublesome. So, one of Wu Sheng said solemnly, "We must protect them with our lives." The powerhouses all unleashed their cultivation base and were about to rush out to fight the battlefield ghosts when they heard Jun Changshao say, everyone, continue to rest. The sect of all times will take care of them. How could they share the experience bags given by the higher realm with others? Go! Swoosh! 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 Li Qingyang and the others rushed out. An intense battle instantly kicked off outside the stronghold. Although the battlefield ghosts' overall strength had increased a lot, the sect of all times had also improved a lot during this period. Therefore, after 2 hours of fighting, they were completely annihilated. The powerhouses were all dumbfounded. That purple-haired guy can fight against a few battlefield ghosts that are comparable to Wu Sheng after he lost his clothes. That's terrifying. City Lord Han exclaimed. The Purple King, who had just walked into the stronghold, heard him and roared, "Whether I lose my clothes or not has nothing to do with whether I'm strong or not. Everyone, and Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji, these disciples who participated in the dragon and tiger battle for supremacy, can also kill the battlefield ghosts with ease." In the beginning, the disciples of the sect of all times had welcomed them on the battlefield, which had already deeply shocked all the martial artists. Today, after witnessing them in action with their own eyes, they were once again shocked. The powerhouses of the second and third-rate sects were slightly better off. The powerhouses of the first-rate sects had bitter expressions on their faces. As the top forces of the mainland, they naturally had many outstanding genius disciples. However, compared to Li Qingyang and the others, they were simply too weak. In particular, the elders of the Taishan Shengzong looked at Lu Chanqian with complicated emotions in their eyes. This woman was once the most outstanding and most valuable disciple in their sect. Later on, she was expelled for some reason. They did not expect that after joining the sect of all times, she would become even stronger than before. When the sect of all times won first place in the dragon and tiger battle for supremacy, many powerhouses had previously thought that the top sects did not seriously send out their geniuses. Now, after witnessing their battle prowess against the battlefield ghosts, they were mercilessly slapped in the face. If this were to be held again, even if they sent all their elites, they would definitely be beaten up badly. To be honest, with the current strength of Li Qingyang and the others, not to mention beating up the genius disciples of the sects, they could even beat up some of the higher-ups of the sects without a problem. The powerhouses of the sect of all times were still unknown to the martial artists of the Falling Star continent. Now that they had experienced the battle with the battlefield ghosts, they had a thorough understanding. The more this was so, the more shocked all the powerhouses were. They had just been promoted to the third-rate sect, and their disciples were already so powerful. In the future, after developing for a few decades or even a century, no one in the entire mainland could compete with them. June Patriarch. In the main hall, City Lord Han cupped his hands and said, "Back then, only thought that you were young and promising. Now, it seems that you are an overlord with great talent and bold vision." City Lord Han is too kind. Jun Changshao said. "No," City Lord Han said seriously. "I am not flattering you. With the current strength of the sect of all times, they already have the qualifications to dominate a region in the Falling Star continent. Throughout history, even the Demon Emperor back then was far inferior to Jun Patriarch." The corner of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched as he said, "City Lord Han is flattering me." Chapter 990. Back then, even the Demon Emperor was inferior to him. Jun Changshao couldn't accept City Lord Han's words. In terms of achievements, he couldn't compare to those awesome people who dared to go against the world. However, from the development of the sect of all times, it was definitely stronger than the Demon Emperor sect. According to historical records, although the Demon Emperor had established the Demon sect long ago, he had always been obsessed with cultivation. It wasn't until he achieved great success that the Demon Emperor sect was born. Jun Changshao started from scratch. His sect started from nothing and reached its current level in just a few years. Therefore, the Demon Emperor couldn't compare to him. Master Yi had a saying. A true master would always have the heart of an apprentice. Jun Changshao didn't want to be high-profile and didn't want to compare who was stronger with the ancients because it was meaningless. He only wanted to follow his heart. June Patriarch. City Lord Han said, I have seen countless people, and I won't be wrong. If you and your sect of all times continue to develop, you will definitely become the leader of the Starfall continent. Fuck. This guy is getting more and more exaggerated. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, I just want to develop the sect steadily. I don't have any ambitions. City Lord Han, don't describe me as the Demon Emperor. Otherwise, it will cause misunderstandings. Who was the Demon Emperor? He was the #1 public enemy of the righteous sects. It's fine if you say that I'm awesome, but if you use him as an example, those big sects that claim to be the embodiment of chivalry will definitely feel unhappy. Jun Changshao wasn't afraid of offending the righteous sects, but there was no need to make the world his enemy. That's true. City Lord Han cupped his hands and said respectfully, Jun Patriarch didn't hesitate to bring his disciples into the battlefield in advance for the sake of the world. His greatness far surpasses the Demon Emperor. Jun Changshao was speechless. This guy really knew how to say nice things. However, it was quite comfortable to listen to. The battlefield ghosts that appeared once in a while not only gave experience, but also increased the size of the stronghold. Due to the overall strength of the stronghold, it expanded quite a bit. If a batch comes every day, why worry about not being able to reach the size of a city? Go Xing said with a smile. Ho ho. Inside the stronghold, Page unleashed his earth element and arranged the green stone slabs around the stronghold, forming a spacious continent. Patriarch. Li Qingyang stood at the highest point and said, in this disciple's conception, this is the eastern part of the city. After expansion, there will be the western part, southern part, and northern part. Since it's a city, it must have walls, Jun Changshao said. Li Qingyang said, this disciple has also considered this point, but in view of the expansion of the stronghold every day, we can only wait until it reaches the size of a city before building another one. Jun Changshao nodded, then flew out of the stronghold and continued to search for opportunities. The next day, the battlefield specter had appeared again, and it lasted for dozens of days. This allowed the disciples of the Sect of all times to gain a large amount of EXP, and their strength increased by the day. In the Sect of all times, due to the transformation of the soil, the growth period of many herbs was shortened. Li Qingyang not only had to busy himself with construction, but he also had to be responsible for refining pills. The most important thing was the Martial King pill, because it was the main ingredient for refining the Surge Talisman, and also the key to determining whether the disciple could break through Wu Huang sooner. Xiao Ziji was not idle. He took on the heavy responsibility of refining equipment, and after the ores were delivered, he refined various weapons and sets in batches. The entire Sect of all times had entered a positive state. Jun Changshao's daily task was to look for opportunities, fish, and occasionally boast to the readers in this chapter. Master, sending the battlefield specter to punish them every day not only can't do anything to the stronghold of the falling star continent, but also allows their strength to increase continuously. If this continues and the Realm Hall finds out, I'm afraid they will find trouble with you again. In the illusory palace, the hunchbacked old man frowned and said, This emperor is carrying out their orders, why would I find trouble with them? The graceful woman sitting on the throne, surrounded by clouds and mist, said impatiently. Master. The old man said, I think that in order to prove ourselves, we should increase the difficulty to prevent people from talking behind our backs. The woman thought for a moment and said, Send the sky battlefield specter. How many? One is enough. Yes. The old man hurriedly retreated. The woman leaned back in her chair and said to herself, When this emperor breaks through to that level, will I still be afraid of a small realm hall? Outside the stronghold, the space gradually distorted. The battlefield specter is here again. The disciples of the Sect of all times stopped what they were doing and began to warm up. For the past month, the battlefield specter would appear on time every day, and they were already used to it. Ta! A battlefield specter wearing crimson armor and a crimson helmet walked out. It's different from before. The disciples of the Sect of all times were surprised. This battlefield specter's face and hair could be clearly seen. If not for the red glow in its eyes, it would be no different from a human at first glance. Jun Changshao walked out and said in surprise, "The aura is much stronger than the word earth. Could it be the word heaven?" "That's right." The female system said, "This is a sky battlefield specter. It's very powerful. Dear participants, you must be careful." Interesting. Jun Changshao was interested. After entering the planar battlefield for so long, he had not only fought but also killed the word earth, but he had never seen the word heaven. How powerful was it? Could it be comparable to a martial emperor? Jun Patriarch. City Lord Han walked over and said with a serious expression, "This guy has probably reached the Great Perfection Realm." Great Perfection Realm? Jun Changshao was confused. City Lord Han said, "This is the realm after Wuxing Peak, also known as Wuxing Great Perfection. It means that one's comprehension of martial arts has reached perfection. If they break through again, they can ascend to the Emperor's throne and explore the secrets of shattering the void." Jun Changshao was speechless. What's the difference between this and the half-saints of Wu Huang and Wuxing? There's no difference. City Lord Han said, "But it's stronger and has a higher status." Okay. Jun Changshao looked at the battlefield specter and thought, in other words, in the planar battlefield, those who have reached the word heaven don't have the strength of a martial emperor. The system said, martial emperors are the strongest existences in the planar battlefield. They are all busy thinking of ways to shatter the void and ascend to the higher realm. Who would be so free as to come to the planar battlefield? If I become a martial emperor, I'll definitely come to the planar battlefield. Jun Changshao said seriously, because when a max-level account bullies a newbie account, I'll feel it. The system roared, "You're crazy. Hall Master Z." Jun Changshao waved his hand and said, "Go out and meet him." Whoosh! The Purple King flew out from the main peak and landed 100 feet away from the battlefield specter. He said proudly, "Finally, someone who can fight." The sky battlefield specter looked up, and his eyes became redder and redder. Then, he rushed over. Boom! There was an explosion, and clouds of dust rose. Whoosh! The Purple King burst out from inside. He didn't stop even after he landed. He only stopped when he was 100 feet away. Then, he crossed his arms and looked ferocious. The battlefield specter's attack wasn't fast. He could defend himself in time, but the power contained in his fists was not something that 5 or 6 Earths combined could compare to. Patriarch. Li Qingyang said in surprise, "This battlefield specter is a bit strong." "That's right," Jun Changshao said. Boom! At this moment, the Purple King's clothes and pants were all torn. He rushed over with his strong legs. His demonic aura exploded, and a dense number of fists instantly gathered. Boom! 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 For a moment, violent energy bloomed outside the stronghold like fireworks. The martial artists of the Starfall continent were stunned. Boom! Suddenly, there was another explosion in the battlefield. Clouds of dust rose, and the ground collapsed by 100 feet. Thump, thump, thump. The Purple King retreated again until he was a few hundred feet away. He relaxed his clenched fists, and his arms were numb. He said telepathically, "Patriarch, this guy is very strong. I'm a bit scared." Chapter 991. The Purple King, who was fighting one against many, was once again sent flying by the battlefield spirit. His arms were numb. It was clear that the sky battlefield spirit's strength was terrifying. City Lord Han and the rest were sweating profusely. This exhibitionist was a ferocious person, but he was sent flying twice in a short exchange. If it were them, they would have died long ago. Continue fighting. Jun Changshao said telepathically, "Let me see how strong this guy is." The Purple King was speechless. However, he still stomped his feet and rushed in again. Demonic aura surrounded his body. Firstly, it was for attack, and secondly, it was for defense. He had never used such a cowardly method of preparing his defense in advance even when fighting against a few Earth-level experts. Boom! Boom! The two of them started fighting again. In an instant, they fought from the ground to the air, and from the air to the sky. The powerful force shattered the space. Boom! Soon, the Purple King fell like a cannonball, and a large part of the ground caved in again. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others' mouths twitched. The battlefield spirit that appeared this time was really super strong. If they were to fight it, they might not even be able to withstand one move. Jun Changshao said to himself, if I don't use hard to stop, I will also be tortured if I go there. Patriarch. Ding Xingwang said telepathically, should we launch a sneak attack? He didn't dare to fight the battlefield spirit head-on. While Hallmaster Purple was fighting, he still had the courage to play some tricks. No. Jun Changshao hurriedly stopped him. This guy is too strong. Once you are hit, you will be doomed. Except for the Purple King, who had a strong physical body, if it were any other Wuxing present, they would be half dead or half crippled if not dead. In front of absolute power, if one didn't have a matching cultivation and defense, there would be no possibility of fighting. This was just a battlefield spirit that didn't have any thoughts or emotions. If it encountered a real heaven-level expert, the pressure it released would be able to easily change the situation. Swish! The Purple King flew out of the pit. His eyes were burning with anger. Purple demonic aura burst out crazily and gathered in mid-air to form the shadow of his original body, Purple Vast Tao Kun. Hoo-hoo! Purple chi whistled and lingered around his fist. The Purple King rushed to a distance of 100 feet. Then, with the support of his true body's phantom, his giant fist directly tore through space. Everyone, Sigma, O_O winky face boom. The giant purple fist carried a violent force as it struck the battlefield specter. The latter was sent flying with a whoosh. Phew! Hoo-hoo! The Purple King was suspended in the air, his right hand still in a bombardment mode. His breathing was slightly rapid, and beads of sweat gradually appeared on his forehead. The main body's phantom and power erupted. This was his killing move, but it consumed a lot of energy. The battlefield specter hovered several hundred feet away. Its crimson armor was not damaged at all. It was clear that not only was it strong, but its equipment was also excellent. Shwa! He gently raised his hand, and the void gradually blurred. A crimson battle-axe appeared. The moment the battlefield specter grasped it, its eyes flickered with an even stronger light. The Purple King's mouth twitched. This king was already at a disadvantage when fighting this kind of armored heavenly character while naked. Now, this king had to take out an extraordinary battle-axe. This is too much. Speaking of fighting with excellent equipment, all the martial artists had something to say because they were often bullied by Li Qingyang and the others with Six Gods equipment. Whoosh! At this moment, the battlefield specter suddenly swung its battle-axe. Ka, as the battle-axe fell, space instantly shattered, forming a cold arc of light. The Purple King's expression changed, and he hurriedly retreated. Obviously, he did not dare to use his body to take the light condensed by the weapon head-on. Shwa! 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 The battlefield specter did not show any mercy. It frequently waved its battle-axe, forming rays of light that tore through space. The Purple King could only dodge in a sorry state. Although he always managed to resolve the attacks, his scalp was still numb from the shock. Damn it! If I had the cultivation of the upper realm, why would I be afraid of a well-equipped piece of trash? Boom! 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 The light from the battle-axe flew from all directions. Although they did not hit the target, when they landed on the ground, deep and crisscrossing trenches immediately appeared. Jun Changshao frowned and said, "This is a little tricky." The system said, "Host, you can buy an exclusive divine weapon for Hall Master Z. It might be able to turn the situation around." That makes sense. Jun Changshao hurriedly opened the Divine Weapon Pavilion and quickly locked onto a pair of boxing gloves that belonged to Hall Master Z. Hall Master Z has always relied on his fists to fight. If you give him weapons like swords, they might not be effective. These boxing gloves should be the most suitable. I'll buy it. Ding! Host has spent 10,000 contribution points. Received Hell, Fury X1. It has been transferred to the spatial ring. Ding! Sect contribution points, 27750700000. Boom! Boom! Outside the stronghold, the battle was in full swing. Hall Master Z, whose strength and equipment were inferior, was in a sorry state. He did not even have a chance to retaliate. Patriarch! He roared and said telepathically, I can't hold on any longer. Hall Master Z. Jun Changshao said, I'll give you a divine weapon that has been passed down since ancient times. Passed down since ancient times? Divine weapon? The Purple King instantly thought of Li Qingyang's weapon that could gather lightning tribulations. His eyes lit up. As a monster king of the beast race, although he did not want to use weapons made by humans, he still cared a lot about divine weapons. Moreover, it might come from the upper realm. Swish! A ray of light flew out from the stronghold. The Purple King waved his hand. Purple monster aura enveloped it and pulled it in front of him instantly. In the next second, his expression completely collapsed. The divine weapon that appeared in front of him was not a sword. Instead, it was a pair of pink boxing gloves. On each of them was a heart, referring to boxing gloves. Patriarch! The Purple King's mouth twitched violently. This is the divine weapon that has been passed down since ancient times? That's right. Jun Changshao said, this item is called Hell, Fury. The Purple King almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Even if it was a dagger, he could reluctantly accept it. However, was this pair of boxing gloves with pink girlish hearts used for fighting or for acting cute? Swish! At this moment, the battlefield specter raised its battle axe and swept it over. Its powerful force directly cut through space and stirred up gusts of wind. The Purple King hurriedly grabbed the gloves and fell down. Boom! He stabilized his body on the ground. His gaze was extremely conflicted. Don't waste time. Jun Changshao said telepathically, hurry up and put it on. Beat him up. The Purple King lowered his head and looked at the pink boxing gloves. He said painfully, if I wear it, my reputation will go down the drain. Swish! The battlefield specter pressed down from above. The battle axe in its hand flashed and blasted out bursts of light. The space was instantly torn into strips. We're in trouble. Old Ding and the rest had a drastic change in expression. The Purple King, who was struggling violently, made up his mind and finally put on the pink boxing gloves. At that moment, with his naked body and a pair of boxing gloves with pink girlish hearts, the scene was simply unbearable. Swish! Suddenly, the two hearts on the boxing gloves flashed. An unfamiliar memory spread from his arms to his mind. The Purple King immediately fell into a daze. Hall Master Z, dodge! Old Ding roared. Dodge? At this moment, the Purple King recovered his thoughts. He raised his head and his eyes flashed with the same pink color as the boxing gloves. He said proudly, this is not my style. Ta! He took half a step back and suddenly raised his arms. His purple hair fluttered as he roared, suffer the wrath of hell. Bam! 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 With the enhancement of the boxing gloves, a mix of purple and pink punches blasted upwards. They collided violently with the battle axe. The violent force wantonly spread, causing a large area of space to collapse. Chapter 992. All the weapons in the Divine Weapon Pavilion had a memory inheritance. When the wielder touched or used it, it would be transmitted. At the same time, it had a binding effect. After the Purple King put on Hell Rage, he immediately learned how to use it. The method was very simple. He just needed to pour his power into his fist and rely on the gloves to punch it out. So, when the Purple King accepted the memory, he didn't dodge the incoming axe light. Instead, he gathered his power into his fists and launched a crazy attack. Boom! 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 The wind howled and the space was torn apart. Oh my god! City Lord Mu and the others suddenly widened their eyes. They could feel that the power of the Purple King's punch was obviously more explosive than before. Could it be because of the pink gloves? Was that a supreme treasure of an extremely high level? Boom! Boom! The sound of the explosion was still echoing. The flowing light gathered by the battle axe was completely destroyed by the fist mark. The space was also shattered by the energy wave. Hoo-hoo, a cold wind blew past, blowing away Hall Master Z's purple hair. His face was filled with arrogance. He resisted the pink gloves at first, but after putting it on, he felt that his power had been greatly enhanced. He was ecstatic. Cool. Comfortable. Swish. At this moment, the battlefield ghost held the battle axe and slashed down, condensing a powerful flowing light again. Boom. The Purple King raised his fist to meet it. Under the support of the gloves, the demon aura gathered into a huge fist mark and directly broke the light that tore the space apart. Swish! 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 He flew out and instantly approached the battlefield ghost. The pink fist mark instantly spread out. Boom! 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 The dense fist marks bombarded the crimson armor like cannonballs, causing the other party to keep retreating. Finally, with a bang, it fell to the ground in the distance. The armor on its chest was dented. Not bad, not bad. June Patriarch smiled. Previously, he couldn't shake the battlefield ghost's armor with his fists. After putting on the exclusive divine weapon, he could make it dented. This showed that the increase in strength was not small. The 10,000 contribution points were not in vain. Swish! The purple craggy monster king rushed forward and stopped in the air above his target. He raised his fists and punched downwards. Hoo-hoo! Hoo-hoo-hoo! Pink fist prints that seemed to be filled with love rained down on the battlefield specter like a torrential rain. Boom 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 boom. Caw caw caw, dust flew everywhere, and the ground cracked. This. City Lord Han and the others were dumbfounded. Boom! After the last fist came crashing down, the ground finally stopped trembling. When the dust gradually settled, the battlefield ghost was revealed in a deep crater. The ground around it was cracked, extending thousands of feet outwards. And this was only because the ground of the planar battlefield was tough enough. If they had been on the falling star continent, such a crazy explosion would have affected an even wider area. Is it over? That guy's gauntlets must be divine tier. Seeing the battlefield specter lying motionless in the deep pit, City Lord Han and the others couldn't help but shudder with fear. He was clearly at a disadvantage just now, but when he put on the gloves, he was able to beat his opponent up. They could only guess that the level of his equipment was extremely high. Caw caw caw. At this moment, the battlefield specter lying in the deep pit swayed slightly. Then, with a whoosh, it flew up and hovered 10 feet away from the Purple King. Although there were many fist prints on its crimson armor, from the light in its eyes, it seemed to be completely fine. The Purple King's eyes widened. He had thrown so many punches, but the opponent was still able to move. This hurt his pride a little. Hoo-hoo! Suddenly, the battlefield specter raised its head. Red lines appeared on the parts of its skin that weren't covered by the armor. Its entire body was instantly covered in crimson light, as if it had turned into a man of fire. Shwa! It disappeared into thin air. Not good. The Purple King's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly turned around and blocked with his arms in front of him. Boom! The battlefield specter covered in crimson light had unknowingly circled behind him and swung its right arm at him. Whoosh! The power of this punch was obviously stronger than before. After the Purple King took it head-on, his expression turned ferocious, and his body fell down like a cannonball. The battlefield specter disappeared again and reappeared at the landing spot in advance. It raised its fist and threw a punch. Bang! The Purple King, who had lost his balance, couldn't dodge at all. He was punched in the chest, and then flew up into the sky. Bang! 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 The battlefield specter disappeared frequently and reappeared frequently. Hallmaster Z was like a rubber ball, flying up and down. Boom! After being punched more than 10 times, he used his gloves to block the attacks and staggered out of the attack range. Wah! The Purple King spat out a mouthful of blood. Hallmaster Z! Old Ding and the others exclaimed. Damn it! The Purple King raised his arm and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes flashed with anger. Paw! Suddenly, he clasped his fists together, and 2 hearts connected. Instantly, an extremely dazzling pink light shone. A sure kill skill? Jun Changshao said. Hoo. The Purple King was enveloped by the pink light. Then, he took a step forward, separated his fists, and punched the air with both fists. He shouted loudly, Love's Fury Fist. Jun Changshao was speechless. He actually dared to say such a Chinibya name. The system was speechless. What right does a guy who calls himself darling and makes a heart gesture have to laugh at others? Whoosh! Whoosh! The Purple King activated the sure kill skill of Hell Fury. Instantly, the gloves flew out of his hands and flew to the left and right. In the process, they expanded rapidly and finally turned into 2 pink gloves that were as big as boulders. Hoo. The 2 huge gloves came from the left and right, sandwiching the battlefield specter in the middle. Paw! The Purple King clasped his hands together. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 huge gloves pulled each other and blasted toward the battlefield specter at a shocking speed. Finally, they collided with each other with a loud bang. Caw. The moment the gloves made contact, violent energy spread out in the form of ripples. Not only did the space in that area collapse, but it also turned into pieces, like a mirror that was smashed into pieces. Plop! After using the sure kill skill, the Purple King sat on the ground. His face was red and he was breathing rapidly, as if his body had been hollowed out. If you don't die now, I won't be able to do anything. As he spoke, the 2 huge gloves that were joined together quickly turned pocket-sized and then flew to his side. The battlefield specter was still standing in mid-air, but cracks began to appear on its crimson armor. Soon, a large area collapsed and fell off. The solid defense was broken, but the opponent's eyes were still shining. It was obvious that he still had the ability to fight. Patriarch, the Purple King lay on the ground and broke down. I've tried my best. After using the sure kill skill and being so tired that he collapsed, he only managed to break the sky battlefield specter's armor. This was definitely the battle that hurt his pride the most since he came down from the upper realm. Whoosh! Jun Changshao flew out of the stronghold and landed in front of the Purple King. He said, "Leave the rest to me." Leave it to him. The Purple King was stunned. It was undeniable that this guy was not weak. But facing a sky battlefield specter that even he couldn't do anything about, wasn't it a little too far-fetched? Or, was he going to use a divine weapon with words engraved on it? Thinking of Jun Changshao's previous killing spree on the battlefield with the unstoppable blade, the Purple King said to himself, this might be able to defeat the sky battlefield. Swish! Jun Changshao waved his hand lightly and carried the magically modified vacuum cleaner on his back. He held the flat suction nozzle in his right hand and said proudly, "You should use this thing to deal with unclean things." Ding! Enhancement mode activated. Ding! Sect contribution points, 27650700000. Swish! Jun Changshao flew over. The battlefield specter's eyes suddenly turned cold, and a crimson fist instantly blasted out. In terms of strength, it was obviously not as explosive as when it fought with the Purple King, but it still couldn't be underestimated. If it were City Master Han and the others, they might not dare to take it head-on. Swish! Jun Changshao raised the flat suction nozzle, and the crimson energy was instantly sucked in. Fuck! This works too. The Purple King suddenly opened his eyes wide. Swish! Jun Changshao flew over with the vacuum cleaner at an extremely fast speed, directly raising the flat suction nozzle and fiercely hitting the battlefield Spectre's head. Whoosh! A strong suction force burst out, and the crimson energy was sucked into the dust remover along the scalp. In just a moment, the battlefield Spectre's eyes gradually dimmed from the radiance in all directions, and finally, its entire body was sucked in. Swish! Jun Changshao landed lightly on the ground, holding the flat suction nozzle, and said proudly, "The battle is over." Wow! Looking at the extremely pretentious back, the Purple King couldn't suppress his injuries and spat out blood. He roared in his heart, "Why didn't you use this weapon to restrain the battlefield Spectre earlier? You made me lose face." Chapter 993. The Sky Battlefield Spirit was sucked away by the magically modified vacuum cleaner, body and soul. As expected. Jun Changshao said to himself, "This thing is also unclean." Actually, when the Sky Battlefield Spirit first appeared, he had wondered if it could be sucked in. But because he wanted to leave it as an experience bag for his disciples, he had never tested it. Now, it was very powerful, and the Purple King had no choice but to test it. To show his respect, Jun Changshao didn't even turn on third gear. He directly activated the enhancement mode. Of course, if not for the Purple King's crazy consumption earlier, he wouldn't have been able to get close. "Hall Master Z," Jun Changshao said, "you've worked hard." Demon Monarch Z Craggy almost vomited blood again. "I'm exhausting myself and embarrassing myself, but in the end, I'm helping him to finish. This is too infuriating. What is Jun Patriarch holding? He sucked in the Sky Battlefield Spirit directly. Could it be an extremely precious treasure?" City Lord Han and the others standing on the floating mountain started discussing. They had already forgotten about the Purple King's crazy battle earlier and focused all their attention on the magically modified vacuum cleaner. A classic example of stealing the limelight. "Patriarch," Li Qingyang said, "the stronghold has expanded again." "Really?" After returning, Jun Changshao released his spiritual senses and found that the stronghold's area had increased again. The increase was similar to the clear jade spirit, so he guessed, maybe it's because its strength is at the sky level, so it's given more area after defeating it. At present, the falling star continent's stronghold was comparable to 4 towns. It could be called a city, but it was small. Of course, whether it was a city or not wasn't up to Jun Changshao. It had to be determined by the epic mission, so he wouldn't stop there. He would continue to expand the stronghold's area. "Page," Li Qingyang said, "we have work to do again." Roar! Paige raised her head and roared. Her eyes were shining with excitement. This fellow had been in the planar battlefield for quite some time now. He had been busy with the construction of the stronghold every day, and his strength had improved significantly. Without the ability to increase its cultivation through hibernation like Little Long Long, Paige could only rely on its own efforts to become stronger step by step until it reached the peak and accompanied its master. Paw! Paw! Ah! Inside the Heaven Origin soul-suppressing pagoda, Arya waved the soul-suppressing whip and whipped the soul. The latter was bound in a U-shape and howled in pain. This guy had some ability. He had been locked up here for a long time, but he hadn't been completely purified. The main reason was that souls were creatures that truly had self-awareness. There was an obvious difference between them and Shi Jingshuan's strange attribute and the power of the upper realm's thunder punishment. The more durable this guy was, the happier Arya was because she could completely let go of herself and unlock all kinds of means and tricks to whip him. Paw paw paw. Ah! The sounds of whips and screams rose and fell. Swish! Space distorted, and Jun Changshao appeared out of thin air with the magically modified vacuum cleaner on his back. Master! Arya stopped and smiled. Why are you here? When she was whipping the soul, she looked like a little devil that walked out of hell. When she saw Jun Changshao, she smiled like a bright child. This change was too fast. I'm here to send you a prisoner. Is that so? Arya's eyes suddenly lit up. Jun Changshao opened the vacuum cleaner, and the trapped battlefield specter turned into a stream of light and flew out. Then, with a bang, it hit the space barrier and bounced back. Now that you're here, don't even think about leaving. Arya waved the soul-suppressing whip and whipped the battlefield specter fiercely. The latter gradually turned from a stream of light into a human form. Under the soul-suppressing whip, all forms would be forcibly anthropomorphized and then suffer from the double torture of the body and soul. After Arya whipped it, she said in surprise, Master, this doesn't seem to be an attribute. That's right. Jun Changshao said. Although the battlefield specter couldn't speak human language and had no thoughts, it was a low-level creature created by the upper realm that only knew how to fight. Interesting. Arya squinted her eyes and smiled. It was more interesting to train such a creature, and it gave him a greater sense of accomplishment. Glancing at the suspended soul, Jun Changshao asked, How long more until this fellow is purified? Arya thought for a while and said, Probably a few more months. Jun Patriarch. At this moment, the soul bared its teeth and said, I surrender. I'm willing to submit to you. After being crazily abused every day, its spirit had completely collapsed. It could give up its backbone and dignity. It only wanted to escape from Arya's whip and candles as soon as possible. There was another important reason that forced it to disarm and surrender. During the period of abuse, its mind was obviously sluggish. If it continued, it might completely lose itself. The so-called sluggish mind was purification. When it completely lost itself, it would become a puppet that was controlled by Arya at will. Jun Changshao said, If you want to submit to me, it'll depend on your sincerity. I'm sincere. The soul hurriedly said. Jun Changshao walked over and said, Since you're sincere, tell me honestly. Are there any of your kind in the Falling Star continent? There were 9 Soul Clan members who came to harm the Falling Star continent. Since one of them had come out, the other 8 might still be lurking in the dark and developing in a low-key manner. This area hit it. Smack! 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 The soul immediately screamed again, and then said in pain, Jun Patriarch, I just woke up not long ago. As for whether there are any of my kind, I'm not sure yet. You're not sure yet? Jun Changshao said, You mean, maybe there are some of your kind? The soul said with a ferocious expression, Although I was defeated in the battle with the Falling Star Continent's martial emperor, my soul merged with heaven and earth. After recuperating for nearly 10,000 years, I was able to wake up. As for my companions, they might have died or are still recuperating in the void. The Soul Clan had a special ability that could save their lives in times of crisis. However, the price was to fall into a coma. This coma depended on luck and the degree of injury. It could be as short as a few decades, or as long as a few thousand years. Of course. If the injury was extremely serious, even if the ability was used, the person who deserved to die would still die. The Soul Clan member who possessed Dai Lu's body was seriously injured at that time. Although it survived, its cultivation and strength were completely weakened after nearly 10,000 years in the void. Do you have any companions? Jun Changshao asked. The soul hurriedly said, Yes. Next question. Jun Changshao said, There are millions of martial artists in the Falling Star continent. Why did you reside in Dai Lu's body? The soul said, When a living being is in a state of anger and unwillingness, the Soul Clan can easily merge into the body. Moreover, when I woke up from a coma, I happened to meet him and went in without thinking. The last sentence was filled with regret. If time flowed backward, it would definitely not choose Dai Lu because this guy was too benevolent. He could not let go of his hands to absorb martial artists. Otherwise, he would not have ended up like this. Area. Jun Changshao said, continue to whip it. Yes. Jun Patriarch. Smack. 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 Ah, in the cell. Thinking of the time when the soul instigated him to absorb martial artists to improve his cultivation faster, he ignored it. Dai Lu shook his head and sighed. A single slip leads to everlasting regret. If I turn back, I will be squatting in jail. So. Zhao Daodu put a hand on his shoulder and advised earnestly, let go of what should be let go. Don't let yourself be lost in the abyss forever because of a momentary setback. Can you scram? If scramming can bring you enlightenment, I don't mind scramming to the ends of the earth. Chapter 994. Jun Changshao ordered Arya to continue purifying the soul. He did not believe that such a cunning and sinister creature would willingly submit to him. It would only be safe if he tamed it completely. This Dai Lu, after returning to the study, Jun Changshao pondered, was it really a coincidence that he was targeted by the soul race? In his opinion, Brother Green Scarf did not have a strong aptitude. He was just the most ordinary existence in the world. Even if he was lucky, he might not be able to get it. The system said, the host was just an ordinary person in his previous life. Didn't you get the system all the same? Jun Changshao rolled his eyes and said, what I mean is, there might be something different about this person. It's just that it hasn't been discovered yet. The system said, the host wants to say that the soul is stored in his body because there's something potentially different about him. That's right. Jun Changshao said. This was just his guess. It was just like when someone was driving, they only had suspicions without evidence. The system said, so the host has been locking him in the cell with no intention of letting him out? I guess I'm fated with this person. Jun Changshao said, if I didn't reject him back then, Li Qingyang would have to call him senior brother. Now that I've captured him, I have to reform him if I can. The system was not optimistic that Dai Lu would join the sect of all times. However, it did not say it out loud because it was afraid of being slapped in the face. As the strongest face-slapping system in history, it could only say nothing and not express its stance in order to prevent being slapped in the face again and again. According to the previous rhythm, once the battlefield specter appeared, it would definitely last for a long time. However, after the heaven character appeared, it did not appear again. This also caused the falling star continent to return to its former peace. When City Lord Han and the others learned that they would enter the slaughtering Azura field within a year, they dismissed the idea of returning and quietly cultivated in the floating mountain. As a member of the falling star continent, if it was destined that they could not avoid killing, they could only fight to the end. Jun Changshao continued to focus on searching for opportunities. Many Earth-level treasures were found one after another, and the stronghold was upgraded day by day. Li Qingyang and the others worked overtime and did not fall behind in the construction. A month later, the size of the falling star continent's stronghold had reached the size of 5 towns. Crisscrossing roads paved the way, and rows upon rows of buildings, it was beginning to take on the scale of a city. Jun Changshao did not continue to modify the terrain to create more floating mountains. This was because 7 was enough. More would make it seem a little cheap. Patriarch. Li Qingyang pointed at the blueprint and said, the North City has already begun to develop. Next, I will continue to develop the East City. In his plan, with the floating mountain as the center, he would divide it into 4 districts, East, West, South, and North. Is there enough money? Enough. Jun Patriarch no longer cared about money. His main concern was the various kinds of spirit stones. Although he had extorted quite a lot from the cultivators of the falling star continent, he still felt that it was not enough. He had to find a way to earn more. How can I enter the soul world? At first, he thought that he could sneak into the soul world through the planar battlefield. In the end, it did not happen. This made Jun Changshao reconsider. Should he directly break the seal of the formation emperor and kill his way in? The system reminded, if you break the formation, they will also kill their way in. If the host can't stop them, you will not be saving the falling star continent, but becoming the culprit of the falling star continent. That's why I'm in a dilemma now, Jun Changshao said. He wanted to build the strongest sect. It was not a big deal that he and a few of the higher-ups were strong. Only by increasing the overall strength would it be truly strong. And this required a large amount of resources. Under normal circumstances, a few Wu Sheng, more than 10 half-sages, and a few Wu Huang martial kings would be considered a top sect. Jun Gosheng wanted to build all his disciples into martial kings or even Wu Huang. Therefore, the starting point was too high. It was destined to consume an extremely large amount of resources. Since the falling star continent could not provide them, they could only rob other planes. The Soul World was undoubtedly the first choice. After all, they had invaded before. Let's wait. The system said, when the disciples are stronger, when the host breaks through to Wu Sheng or Martial Emperor, then we can go and rob other planes. If only there were void worms, Jun Changshao murmured. The soul race relied on this thing to break through the plane barrier and invade. If he could find one and break through from another place, they would be caught off guard. The system said, this kind of creature is not good. At this point, he suddenly remembered the law of being slapped in the face and hurriedly shut his mouth. Jun Changshao only thought about robbing the soul world. Next, he still focused on expanding the stronghold. One day, when he brought back a treasure, a deep voice sounded in the sky of the battlefield. The falling star continent's area meets the requirements and is officially classified as a third-class city. It can't be. All the martial artists widened their eyes when they heard this. It had only been 2 months since the last announcement that the falling star continent was classified as a town. How could it suddenly be upgraded to a city? City Lord. In the Nine Heavens continent stronghold, an elder said in disbelief, what kind of ridiculous development speed is this? Mo Shangxing's mouth twitched. Back then, it took us a few decades to develop from a town to a city. And this was only the first tier. Weaker planes took over 100 years or more to reach the scale of a city. It only took them 2 months to travel from a town to a city. That was an incredible feat. Third-class city. Jun Changshao muttered to himself, there are second-class and first-class cities above? Yes. The female system said. Since the stronghold scale has been recognized by the upper realm, the epic level mission should also count. Goshen grinned, the initial completion standard has been met. Dear participant, after the stronghold reaches the scale of a city, as the leader of the stronghold, you can declare war on planes of the same scale as the stronghold. The female system said. After declaring war, I can go to the slaughtering Azura field? Yes. Jun Changshao muttered to himself, these two epic level missions are closely related. Who should I declare war on? If he had a grudge against anyone on the battlefield, it would definitely be the Scarlet Sea continent and Lingyun continent. Palace Master. At this moment, in the Scarlet Sea continent stronghold, the Azure Sea Palace Elder panicked when he heard that the Starfall continent had been promoted to a city. The Starfall continent is classified as a city, so it has the right to declare war. If it declares war on our Scarlet Sea continent, it will be bad. I'm worried too. Hong Yao frowned. He knew that every plane had to go through the slaughtering Azura field once. If Jun Changshao chose his own continent, he would be in big trouble. What should he do? Hong Yao anxiously paced back and forth in the hall. Palace Master. An elder suggested, Jun Changshao loves money, we can cater to his tastes. You mean, give him spirit stones? That's right. This. Hong Yao was conflicted. He was still in pain from being extorted while watching the show. If he gave him spirit stones, it would be like cutting off his own flesh. Palace Master. At this moment, a disciple came to report, the Lingyun continent has sent martial artists to the Starfall continent stronghold. Hong Yao was stunned, Are they going to die? Palace Master. The elder who made the suggestion earlier exclaimed, the Lingyun continent is not going to die. They might be going to give us money. Give us money? Hong Yao's mouth twitched, that's too cowardly. Let's go. Let's go. Hurry up and follow me to the Starfall continent stronghold. If the Lingyun continent gets there first, Jun Changshao might declare war on us tomorrow. Patriarch. On the main peak of the floating mountain, Li Qingyang reported, people from the Scarlet Sea continent and the Lingyun continent are requesting an audience. Why are they here? Jun Changshao, who was thinking about whom to declare war on, was suddenly at a loss. Chapter 995. According to the rules of the upper realm, a plane that had reached the size of a city had the right to declare war. This right to declare war meant that after both sides had reached a certain size, they could fight whoever they did not like. New planes did not have the right to declare war, but they had the right to enter passively. Regardless of whether they had reached the size or not, they had to enter once. From the moment City Lord Han and the others entered, the Falling Star continent was considered a newcomer, so they had the right to enter passively. However, they did not need it now because they had reached the size of a city and automatically obtained the right to declare war. Epic Mission 10 required them to find a plane to declare war and win in the slaughtering Azura field. Therefore, Jun Changshao began to think about which plane to declare war on. Before he could decide, people from the Scarlet Sea continent and the Lingyun continent came over, and they prepared a lot of spirit stones. This, holding a few space rings, Jun Changshao, who was standing outside the stronghold, was a little confused. He did not expect that they would suddenly come to give him money. Jun Patriarch. Hong Yao smiled and said, the rule of the plain battlefield is to kill. We have no choice, so please don't take it to heart if we have offended you before. Jun Changshao immediately understood. They were worried that he would declare war on them, so they came to give him money in advance. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, I'm not a petty person. Since you are so polite, let's bury the hatchet. Hong Yao and the big shots from the Lingyun continent were secretly delighted. In fact, according to the rules of the upper realm, the side that was declared war had the right to refuse. However, if they could use money to resolve the conflict with the Falling Star continent and not be watched by them all day, that would be the best. To be exact. They were too afraid of Jun Changshao and would rather spend money to avoid disaster. Spirit stones are so easy to earn. Sitting in the main hall and counting the hundreds of thousands of spirit stones in the space ring, a smile appeared on Jun Changshao's face. The system said, Host, you've taken their money. Who are you going to declare war on? Jun Changshao said indifferently, there are many planes in the battlefield. If I don't look for them, I can look for others. The system did not speak. The Scarlet Sea continent and the Lingyun continent were considered mid-tier planes. They would be scared to death. The other planes would definitely refuse to declare war if their brains weren't kicked by a donkey. Jun Changshao had also considered this point. However, since the other party had given them money, it was equivalent to them paying protection fees. How could they have the nerve to declare war? Moreover, the overall strength of the two planes was not bad. If they really declared war on them and entered the slaughtering Azura field, they might not be able to gain the upper hand. The fact that Jun Patriarch could realize this meant that he was still very calm. He was feared by everyone because he had killed more than 20,000 people in a frenzy, and he had relied on a blade that was hard to stop. Without this item, Go Sheng would be nothing. With the current strength of the sect of all times, they definitely could not contend against a plane like the Crimson Sea continent. Even if they had the Purple King to fight one against many in the Azura battlefield, they might not necessarily win. Furthermore, he only had one opening talisman now. Unless it was a matter of life and death, he would definitely not use the blade that was hard to stop. Therefore, Jun Changshao would not be stupid enough to challenge the Crimson Sea continent and the Lingyun continent. Their gift of spirit stones was a completely unexpected windfall. He had no intention of flipping their cards. Instead, they came to give him money. Naturally, he would gladly accept it and let go of the grudges between them. If the Crimson Sea continent and the Lingyun continent knew that their gift of spirit stones was completely unnecessary, they would definitely vomit blood. On the first day that the powerhouses entered the plain battlefield, they missed him. On the 10th day, they missed him. On the 60th day, they still missed him. This was the best way to describe the younger generation of the falling star continent missing their elders. Some worked hard to cultivate or manage their family business. Some endured because they did not have the supervision of their elders, or because they missed their elders too much and indulged in wine and women. Until one day, the entire Jianghu was in chaos. This was because the Demon Emperor's Gate appeared again. This time, the storm was very fierce. In just one night, more than 10 sects were destroyed. Patriarch. All kinds of information were sent to the Drizzle Peak from all directions. Li Luoqiu reported after sifting through the information, just last night, 9 fifth-rate sects and 2 fourth-rate sects were destroyed. Finally, they can't hold it in anymore. Jun Changshao was not surprised that the Demon Emperor's Gate appeared again. All the major sects started to organize. Li Luoqiu said, however, because the first batch of powerhouses entered, the scale was not too big. I'm afraid that they won't be able to pose a substantial threat to the Demon Emperor's Gate. Is there no news from the Taishan Xingzong? No. Jun Changshao was silent for a moment. Then he said, the Demon Emperor's Gate has been holding back for so long. If they stir up trouble again, it will definitely last for a long time. We only need to be responsible for watching the show. Yes. By the way, inform Elder Jiang to find out where the Demon Emperor's Gate moved to. If Yuan Gongzi heard this, he would definitely cry and say, as expected, they still don't intend to let us go. That afternoon, Jiangya left the Sect of All Times to find the hiding place of the Demon Emperor's Gate. A few days later, another piece of shocking news came. The famous righteous sects led by the top sects had a direct confrontation with the Demon Emperor's Gate, who had launched a sneak attack, in a certain third-rate sect. Both sides fought for a day and a night. When Li Luoqiu received the news, she hurriedly reported, Patriarch, yesterday at the Jade Court sect, the righteous and demonic sects fought fiercely. There were 6 half-saints involved in the battle, and the mountain collapsed. How are the casualties? The Demon Emperor's Gate lost 1 half-saint. The famous righteous sects lost 2 half-saints. Jun Changshao said in shock, it's that serious? In the next few days, news came, which made him gradually realize that the Demon Emperor's Gate, which had been dormant for some time, was really going to cause havoc in the falling star continent. Because it had fought with the righteous sects dozens of times, both sides had emperors and kings dying one after another. In this era where even martial kings were powerful, the death of so many high-level cultivators could only mean that the level of the battle between the righteous and demonic sects was extremely high. If it was just a confrontation between sects, it would be fine. However, many provinces and counties actually started secular wars at this critical juncture. A large number of troops were deployed, causing the sky above the falling star continent to be enveloped in the flames of war. The atmosphere was very oppressive. June Patriarch. Xie Guangquan visited the Sect of All Times and said with a frown, during this period, the Demon Emperor's Gate has caused a lot of trouble. The 4th and 5th-rate sects were destroyed one after another, and the other provinces and counties are fighting each other. I'm worried that it will affect the Azure Sun County. No need to worry. Jun Changshao interlocked his fingers and said with a cold gaze, if anyone dares to invade the Azure Sun County, I'll kill them. He set a flag. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the gloomy forest, a group of masked men in black clothes flew out and then stared at a few women who were hurrying on their way. Deputy Chief. A subordinate whispered, these people are the disciples of the Lily Holy Sect. Should we attack? Attack! Whoosh! Whoosh! Dozens of masked men in black rushed out and attacked the female cultivators without any explanation. Boom! Boom! Due to the difference in numbers and strength, the masked men in black clothes suppressed the female cultivators in just a moment and heavily injured them. You? Who are you? The injured female cultivator said with a pale face. You'll know when you reach the Yellow Springs Road. One of the masked men in black raised his sword and slashed. However, he was stopped by someone beside him, who said in shock, Deputy Chief, these people are not the disciples of the Lily Holy Sect. The deputy chief said in shock, they're not. Hearing this, the woman seemed to understand something. She hurriedly took out an identity token from her waist and said, we are the disciples of the Ingenious Flower Palace. Ingenious Flower Palace? Chief, it sounds familiar. It's over, it's over. The deputy chief said in a panic, the Ingenious Flower Palace is one of the allies of the sect of all times. Yuan Gongzi once warned us not to provoke them. Patriarch. Li Luoqiu reported, 7 disciples of the Ingenious Flower Palace were ambushed by the masked men in black clothes. 5 are injured and 2 are dead. Jun Changshao interlocked his fingers and rested his chin on the back of his hand. He said coldly, Yuan Gongzi, you've gone too far. Chapter 996. Bam! A loud explosion came from the inner courtyard of the Demon Emperor's Gate. A black-clothed man smashed through the door and flew out. He landed on the ground and spat out blood. From the perspective of the smashed door, Yuan Gongzi's eyes were filled with anger. His face was distorted as he roared, Trash! 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 He ordered his subordinates to ambush the Lily Saint sect and accidentally hurt Miaohua Palace. Anger. Extreme anger. So important that he had to repeat it 3 times. Men! Yuan Gongzi sneered, throw this trash into the Broken Soul Cliff. Despair appeared in the eyes of the vice branch leader, who was lying outside and vomiting blood. The Broken Soul Cliff was the place where the Demon Emperor's Gate punished its members. Not only would they die if they were thrown in, but their souls would also be destroyed. Vice branch leader. Please. Please give me another chance. The vice branch leader howled. Bam! Yuan Gongzi smashed the table in front of him and said furiously, I'll give you a chance. Jun Changshao, will you give me a chance? Of all the people, he had to hurt Miaohua Palace. Everyone in the Starfall continent knew that the patriarch of the sect of all times had an affair with the palace master of this fourth-rate sect. If he knew about this, he would definitely not let it go. Swoosh! Swoosh! 2 black-clothed men flew over and carried the despairing vice branch leader away. Young master. The black-clothed old man in the room said, we didn't offend the sect of all times. We only accidentally hurt Miaohua Palace's disciples. It shouldn't be that serious, right? I hope it's fine too. Yuan Gongzi said bitterly, but I'm afraid that Jun Changshao will use this as an excuse to stir up trouble. The black-clothed old man said confidently, we've already changed our base. The sect of all times won't be able to find us. Moreover, this Spirit Crossing Valley is the #1 forbidden area in the Starfall continent. There are hundreds of thousands of ferocious beasts inside. Even if Jun Changshao knows the location, he might not dare to bring his men here. Spirit Crossing Valley. The #1 forbidden area of the Starfall continent. The most feared thing about this place was that there were 2 spirit beasts that were as powerful as Wusheng and hundreds of thousands of subordinates. To be able to enter the Demon Emperor's Gate, it took a lot of resources. Of course, they were only temporary guests. There were some places that they couldn't enter, because if they weren't careful, they would become enemies with the beast race, resulting in a large-scale battle. Don't look at how this demonic Dao faction was arrogant outside, they were very well behaved in the Spirit Crossing Valley. It was all Jun Changshao's fault. If they hadn't attacked the other party's nest, they wouldn't have moved all the way here. Regardless of whether we can find that guy or not, we cannot offend the sect of all times at any time, let alone their allies. Pass down my order. Tell the disciples who are out there to keep their eyes open and find the right information. If something like this happens again, throw them all into the Broken Soul Cliff. Yes. The black-clothed old man disappeared without a sound. Yuan Gongzi sat on the chair, rubbed his temples, and said, "Should I apologize first?" If he did that, it would seem a bit too cowardly. Those old fellows would also take the opportunity to criticize him. "Young master," a subordinate said, "the Tiger King and the Antler King have come to visit." Yuan Gongzi gave up thinking and said, "Invite them in." In the guest hall, a middle-aged man with a full beard and a weak scholar with a feminine appearance sat awkwardly on the chair. The Tiger King and the Antler King. One was a heaven-reaching tiger, and the other was a horned deer. The two beasts had cultivated in the Spirit Crossing Valley for thousands of years. Not only were they as powerful as Wusheng, but they also had hundreds of thousands of subordinates. They were quite powerful in the circle of the beast race. There were many powerful spirit beasts in the Starfall continent, but because they stayed in a certain area all year round and rarely appeared in the secular world, their presence was very low. For example, the King of 100 Hills that Jun Changshao had subdued. Two kings. Yuan Gongzi walked in, cupped his hands, and said with a smile, "What brings you to this, Yuan?" The Antler King said, "We've thought about what Yuan Gongzi said earlier. We're willing to work together and do something big in the Starfall continent." "That's great," Yuan Gongzi said happily. After he had settled in the Spirit Crossing Valley, he had instigated the two spirit beasts to join him. After the experts of the Starfall continent entered the planar battlefield, they attacked the major forces and unified the entire continent. However, the Antler King said, "How do we split the benefits?" Following behind the Demon Emperor's Gate and becoming enemies with the Starfall continent, if there were no benefits, they would definitely not do it. Yuan Gongzi said, "Two kings definitely won't be willing to hide in the Spirit Crossing Valley. If you assist this Yuan in attacking the major forces, after the matter is done, I'll give you a large amount of good feng shui land for the beast race to rest and recuperate." The Tiger King and the Antler King's eyes lit up. They had no interest in human weapons and equipment. If they could obtain a larger territory to strengthen their race, it would naturally be best. "Yuan Gongzi, it's a deal. Come. Drink this bowl of wine and congratulate us on forming an alliance." "Brother." After leaving the Demon Emperor's Gate, the Tiger King, who had been silent all this time, said, "The humans are very cunning. Won't we be tricked by forming an alliance with them?" "We won't." The Antler King said, "I've already sent my subordinates to investigate. This Demon Emperor's Gate has been fighting with the major forces recently. It's clear that they're going to do something big." The Tiger King was very confused. "Brother, that purple-haired guy who called himself the Fiend King came to find us, and you directly rejected him. Why do you have this plan now?" "Big brother," the Antler King said, "that guy looks unreliable. We'll definitely be unlucky if we fight with him. Although the major forces of the major sects have entered the planar battlefield, there are still many humans. We have to be careful," the Tiger King said. The Antler King sneered. "We can't deal with the humans openly. We can do it secretly." The Tiger King said, "Brother, do you have a plan?" The Antler King thought for a while and said, "While the Demon Emperor's Gate is fighting with the major sects, we'll lead our elites to attack a certain county. Of course. We can't be too strong. Let's find a weak one to test our strength. If we're talking about weak, it's only southwest Yangzhou." "That's right." The Antler King smiled. "I've already made my choice. When the Demon Emperor's Gate moves again, we'll attack the weakest county in southwest Yangzhou, Qingyang County." "Brother, I heard that there's a sect of all times in Qingyang County. This sect doesn't seem to be easy to deal with. It's just a third-rate sect. There's nothing to worry about. Should we discuss it with Yuan Gongzi first?" "Big brother, if we discuss everything with that guy, we won't be allies anymore. We'll just be his underlings." "Okay, let's attack Qingyang County. Don't tell Yuan Gongzi about this. When we take down southwest Yangzhou, he'll understand that we beast race can't be underestimated. It'll be beneficial for us in the future. In the courtyard, Yuan Gongzi leisurely took a sip of tea and smiled. These two spiritual beasts are very strong and have many subordinates. As long as we use them well, they'll definitely be great helpers for our Demon Emperor's Gate to unify the continent. Young master, the black-clothed old man said, they're not of our race. Their intentions are definitely different. It's fine, it's fine. Yuan Gongzi put down his teacup and smiled. These beasts with no intelligence are nothing but chess pieces in my hands. Chapter 997. The battle between the Devil Monarch sect and the righteous sects had already reached a white-hot state. At any moment, they could start fighting on some mountain or in some wilderness. All kinds of news spread through the counties. Many ordinary people sensed that something was wrong and prayed silently that they would not be implicated in the battle. Even if innocent people were harmed in a battle of this level, there would be a limit to it. However, if the counties and counties were to fight, many people would be implicated. County Governor. In the Xinyang City Lord's office, a strategist said, City Lord Mu has entered the dimensional battlefield and has not returned yet. I'm afraid something bad has happened to him. Why don't we take the opportunity to annex the other counties? Sigh. Zhua Chaochuan sighed and said, of course I want to, but with the sect of all times in charge, offending them will not end well. The world was in turmoil, and the flames of war were everywhere. As an ambitious county governor, he naturally wanted to take the opportunity to expand his territory. However, Mu Changhong of the Heavenly Mandate Imperial City had left, and Jun Changshao of the Qingyang County was still there. The strategist said bitterly, if not for this person, our Xinyang County would have integrated all the surrounding cities. Zhua Chaochuan suddenly had the urge to cry. Previously, he had launched a war and annexed Heian County, Huayang County, and other places with great momentum. However, he had been blocked in the Qingyang County. Not only had he lost a large army, but Jun Changshao had also paid him a visit and beaten him up. He had been planning for a long time and was about to succeed, but someone had come out of nowhere. This was very sad. The strategist said, if we don't attack the Qingyang County, the sect of all times won't get involved, right? Zhua Chaochuan fell into deep thought. City Lord Mu was not here, and there was no one to take care of southwest Yangzhou. At this time, it was undoubtedly the best time to send troops to conquer other cities and expand his territory. He did not want to miss this opportunity. County Governor. At this time, a subordinate walked in and handed over a letter. The sect of all times sent a letter. The sect of all times sent it. Zhua Chaochuan opened the letter and saw what was written on it. Before Governor Mu entered the dimensional battlefield, he entrusted me with the task of looking after southwest Yangzhou. Now that the world is in chaos, County Chief Zhua, you better know your place. Otherwise, don't blame me for using peaceful means before resorting to force. The signatory was Jun Changshao. The words peaceful means before resorting to force were clearly saying that if you don't behave, I'll come over and beat you up. Zhua Chaochuan said with a serious expression, there's no point in fighting and killing. It's better to stay at home and fish. The idea of conquering the world, which had just arisen, was completely suppressed by a letter sent by Jun Changshao. Patriarch Li Luocho said, sects have no right to interfere in secular wars. I'm afraid County Governor Zhuo won't compromise if we send a letter directly. If he doesn't compromise, then my sect's disciples will be bullied in Xinyang County tomorrow, Jun Changshao said. Li Luocho was speechless. The patriarch was purposely setting up a crime so that he could openly cause trouble for Xinyang County. Of course. Jun Changshao said, I firmly believe that County Governor Zhua is a smart person. He won't make a mistake at a critical moment. Li Luocho said, the Demon Emperor's Gate attacked a few more sects yesterday. During this period of time, Yuan Gongzi frequently attacked and destroyed so many sections. He must have plundered a lot of resources, Jun Changshao muttered. Li Luocho replied, the sect's vaults and secret rooms were empty. They must have taken everything. Jun Changxiao's gaze turned cold. They dared to harm my allies. When Elder Jiang finds the location, he must seek justice. The system said, the host isn't going to seek justice for Wondrous Flower Palace. He's going to rob them. Both, Jun Changxiao said. That's right. Li Luoqiu said, I also received news that Palace Master Shi is on her way to my sect. It should be because of the Demon Emperor's Gate's sneak attack on her disciples. In the afternoon, Shi Jingxian brought Ling Xingyue to the Sect of all times. Jun Changxiao personally received her at the mountain gate. Seeing the bespectacled woman with flowing black hair, he couldn't help but think to himself, at first, it was quite out of place. Now, it feels very compatible. The system said, if she wore the uniform designed by the host, it would definitely be more compatible. That's right. Jun Changxiao agreed. A woman with such a good figure and face would have a different charm if she wore the Sect of all times uniform and a pair of large glasses. While he was thinking, Shi Jingxian had already arrived at the mountain gate. She looked at the mountains in the distance that reached into the clouds in surprise and said, Jun Patriarch, your sect has changed a lot. Jun Changxiao smiled and said, like Palace Master Shi, have you become prettier? Li Luoqiu, who was standing at the side to receive the guests, widened her eyes and said in disbelief, Patriarch can say something like that. Has the sun risen from the west? Shi Jingxuan's face turned red. Palace Master. Ling Xingyue said in a low voice, don't forget why you're here at the Sect of all times. Oh. Shi Jingxian hurriedly adjusted her state of mind and said, Jun Patriarch. Jun Changxiao said, this Jun has already heard about the attack on your sect's disciples in the wilderness. He knows. Shi Jingxian was stunned. The Sect of all times' intelligence network was very powerful. Not only did Gosheng know, he knew even faster than Wondrous Flower Palace. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changxiao said solemnly, you and I are friends, and our sects are allies. Whoever bullies Wondrous Flower Palace is also bullying the Sect of all times. In a few days, Jun will personally seek justice for your sect. Shi Jingxian said, Jun Patriarch, is it the Demon Emperor's Gate that injured my disciples? That's right. Jun Patriarch, the demon sect strength is not to be underestimated. They've been causing a lot of trouble in the Jianghu recently, and many large sects have suffered losses. In my opinion, let's just forget about it. Although Shi Jingxian had seen Jun Changxiao beat up Yuan Gongzi at Mount Yinghui, she still believed that the Demon Emperor's Gate was very powerful, so she didn't want him to cause trouble for her sect. To put it bluntly, she was worried that Gosheng would be bullied by the demon sect. This time, Shi Jingxian didn't come because of the sneak attack on her disciples. She mainly came to discuss how to stay out of the chaos in the Jianghu recently. Jun Changxiao said seriously, how can we just let it go when our disciples were killed? Shi Jingxian smiled bitterly and said, in the face of absolute power, it's already good to be alive. 2 of her disciples had been killed. As the palace master, she was very distressed, but that was all she could do. Because the culprit was the Demon Emperor's Gate, a force that could easily destroy 3rd or 4th-rate sections. Was she supposed to lead her people to their deaths? Palace Master Shi. Jun Changxiao said with a solemn expression, our sects have been allies for a long time. Your disciples are my disciples. They were killed by the Demon Emperor's Gate, and this hatred must be avenged. You should return to your sect first and leave everything to me. Jun Patriarch. Shi Jingxian was deeply moved, but she still advised rationally, the Demon Emperor's Gate is too powerful. It's better if we don't provoke them. Whoosh! At this moment, Jiang Ye flew over from afar and landed in the outer courtyard of the Sect of all times. He transmitted his voice, Patriarch, the Demon Emperor's Gate is hidden in the Crossing Spirit Valley. Crossing Spirit Valley? Jun Changxiao sneered, Yuan Gongzi, your family moved really deep. Chapter 998. Shua. Shua. Above Ironbone Town, a stream of light flew past. The person in the lead was Jun Changshao, followed by the Purple King, King of 100 Hills, Ding Xingwang, Gong Sun Haohai, and other high-level sect members. Puchi! Puchi! Xiao Moxian transformed into the Demon Ridge Black Eagle and followed along, carrying Shi Jingxian on her back. At first, Jun Patriarch wanted her to return to the sect and wait for his news. But since Jiangye had found the location of the Demon Emperor's Gate, he might as well bring her along. After all, she represented Miaohua Palace. Palace Master Shi. Xiao Moxian said, "Sit tight." Shi Jingxian nodded. But there was a bit of disappointment in her eyes. Disappointment and disappointment. Why did Jun Patriarch leave her behind and travel alone? This time, Jun Changshao only brought the high-level sect members with him to Spirit Crossing Valley. He didn't bring Li Qingyang and the others because the latter still needed to construct the plain battlefield. Moreover, it wasn't about numbers, but about elites. Not to mention Old Ding and King of 100 Hills, just Hall Master Purple was enough to intimidate the entire Demon Emperor's Gate. Young Master. In the courtyard of the Demon Emperor's Gate, the black-clothed old man reported, "Yesterday, we destroyed several sections. We obtained a total of 2 million artificial spirit stones, 200,000 natural spirit stones, herbs, ores, weapons, and other resources." So little? Yuan Gongzi frowned. After being extorted by Jun Changshao for 5 million natural spirit stones, in order to stop the losses, they could only loot from the famous righteous sections. But a few million artificial spirit stones couldn't make up for the huge hole. Moreover, settling the sect in Spirit Crossing Valley also consumed a lot of resources. The black-clothed old man said, "After all, we are only targeting 4th or 5th-rate sections. There are too few valuable resources." So, Yuan Gongzi picked up the book beside him and looked at the names of the sects listed on it. If you want to get rich, you have to find a higher-level sect. This booklet was a list of the sects and forces on the Falling Star continent. Not only were there famous orthodox sects, but there were also unorthodox sections. On the last page, there was a list of sects that could not be provoked. There were 3 sects that stood out from the rest. They were the Sect of All Times, the Mystic Flower Palace, and the Blue Mountain Sect. Yuan Gongzi had been very careful. He had eliminated everything that could harm Jun Changshao. But he never expected that his men would accidentally injure Jun Changshao. If he wasn't hiding in the Spirit Crossing Valley, he would have already taken the money to apologize. Yuan Gongzi said, "Inform the Tiger King and the Antler King to come over." Since the two sides had reached a cooperation agreement, he had to make good use of these 2 chess pieces and let them work for him. Yes. The black-clothed old man left. After a while, he hurried over and said, "Young master, these 2 spirit beasts have left the Spirit Crossing Valley." Yuan Gongzi rubbed his forehead and said, "Sure enough, these beasts are unruly and unreliable. Forget it, forget it." He wrote down the sects on a piece of white paper and tossed it to the black-clothed old man, saying, "Inform the branch to find a time to destroy these sects and bring back all their martial arts resources." Yes. The black-clothed old man was about to leave when Yuan Gongzi said, "Has the Sect of All Times made any moves recently?" "Young master, there has been no movement." You may leave." Yuan Gongzi rubbed his temples and thought to himself, "Everyone says that the Palace Lord of the Mystic Flower Palace and the Patriarch of the Sect of All Times have an affair. Now it seems that it's just a rumor." He got up and returned to his room. Suddenly, his eyelids twitched and his expression changed slightly. This is an ominous sign. In the West Cloud province, which was connected to the southwestern Yangzhou, a burly middle-aged man and a young man with delicate skin flew over at high speed. "Brother," the middle-aged man said, "we flew out of the Spirit Crossing Valley so brazenly. Will we be discovered by the human Wusheng?" From the voice, one could tell that it was the Tiger King. "Don't worry, big brother," the Antlered King said, "most of the experts at Wusheng's level have entered the planar battlefield. We can now fly around the Falling Star continent without fear." The Tiger King heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Brother, when we enter the southwestern Yangzhou, should we go straight to the Azure Sun County or destroy the sects we see?" "Let's go to the Azure Sun County." The Antlered King said, "Let's clean up the small fries first." "Okay." Whoosh! Whoosh! Alliance Master Qin. In the Grand Qi Sect's main hall, the Long Blade Sect Sect Master Shintong said worriedly, "The pugilistic world has been chaotic recently. That demonic sect might come to the southwestern Yangzhou. It's better for us to prepare early." Qin Haoran, who was sitting at the head of the table, shook his head and said, "Sect Master Shen, the 100 Sect Alliance has been disbanded long ago. Don't call me Alliance Master anymore." "No." Shintong said solemnly, "Alliance Master Qin is our Alliance Master for one day and will always be our Alliance Master, even if this organization no longer exists." Qin Haoran's eyes flashed with a trace of relief. Although he had been reduced to nothing in this book, the fact that his former ally could still support him was a testament to his true feelings. Although the Demon Emperor's Gate is causing a lot of trouble, they still haven't come to the southwestern Yangzhou. Situ Wang said, "In this old man's opinion, they might be afraid of the Sect of All Times." Hearing the words "Sect of All Times," Qin Haoran's eyes flashed with a trace of complicated emotions, but more than that, there was fear. The Demon Emperor's Gate dares to go against the top sections. Why would they be afraid of Jun Changshao? Shintong said. If it was in the past, his words would have been filled with contempt. But now, he was completely serious and did not look down on Qin Haoran at all. After all, his face had been slapped countless times. Qin Haoran said bitterly, "The Demon Emperor's Gate's large-scale attack on the top sects is a disaster. We can only pray that they don't target us. What else can we do?" These former 100 Sect Alliance forces were just sections. They were as weak as ants in front of ordinary fifth-rate sections. How could they fight against a demonic sect? Sect. Sect Master, right at this time, a disciple scrambled in and said in horror, "Outside. There are 2 martial artists who can fly outside." A martial artist who could fly. Qin Haoran, Shintong, and the others were shocked. Wu Huang. Boom! Right at this moment, a loud bang sounded. The entire ground trembled violently. The main hall was unable to withstand the force and began to collapse. Qin Haoran was dumbfounded. "Alliance Master Qin, run!" Shintong cried out in alarm, but seeing that he was dumbstruck like a wooden chicken, he hurriedly rushed over, grabbed his arm, and dragged him out. Boom! When everyone rushed out, the main hall that had stood in the wind and rain for hundreds of years suddenly collapsed, turning into ruins. The plaque Noble Spirit Sect that had been hung up in recent years also shattered on the spot. Here was the problem. Why was it put up in recent years? Plop! Qin Haoran collapsed on the ground and cried out in grief. No, regardless of whether it was a sect or a sect, the main hall was a symbol of supreme dignity. Now that it had suddenly collapsed, it was equivalent to the sect being exterminated. Shintong and Situ Wang had no time to care about Qin Haoran because their eyes were wide open at this moment. In their field of vision, the outer courtyard of Noble Spirit Sect was gone. Instead, it was replaced by a pit that was dozens of feet deep, spreading to the area of the main hall. Following the camera, one could clearly see that the mountain where Noble Spirit Sect was located seemed to have been blasted into a huge pit by some kind of terrifying force. Even the space was being disturbed and shattered. Plop! Plop! Shintong and Situ Wang did not manage to stabilize their bodies. They collapsed on the ground with fear in their eyes. Then, they raised their heads stiffly and looked at the 2 middle-aged and young men who were standing in mid-air with a gloomy aura. They definitely did not come with good intentions. "Brother," the Tiger Force King said, "that punch of yours should have destroyed the entire mountain." The Antler King grinned and said, "Big brother, looking at the fear on the human's face, I'm inexplicably excited." Swish! Swish! With a wave of his hand, demonic aura erupted. Whoosh! 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 Those noble spirit sect disciples who did not die under the bombardment were bound and flew up uncontrollably. Humans. The Antler King pulled them all in front of him and laughed. Are you scared? Scared. Extremely scared. Bang! 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 Suddenly, the dozens of bound noble spirit sect disciples exploded and died instantly. They did not even have the chance to scream. Nice! The Antler King squinted his eyes and said. It was a spirit beast that was comparable to Wu Xing's level. It did not need to move at all to kill Meridian Opening Realm and martial disciples. Ta! At this moment, Qin Haoran struggled to stand up. Although his legs were trembling violently, he clenched his fists and said angrily, "You destroyed my main hall and killed my disciples. This hatred is absolutely irreconcilable." Boom! The Antler King suddenly appeared in front of him and stepped on his face. He held his hands and said, "You're just an ant. How dare you boast so shamelessly?" Wah! Qin Haoran vomited blood. This was without the intention of killing him. Otherwise, he would have been turned into a pile of meat paste. "Brother," the Tiger Force King urged, "quickly destroy this sect. We still have to go to the next one." Understood. The Antler King raised his foot and a wild demonic aura erupted. From the aura, it was obvious that not only did it want to kill Qin Haoran, but it also wanted to raise the entire noble spirit sect to the ground. Whoosh! The demonic aura gathered crazily and spread in all directions. Shentong and Situ Wang, who were trembling on the side, looked desperate. A strong aura of death enveloped their consciousness. It was over. Completely over. The Antler King, who was accumulating power, looked up and squinted at the destroyed main hall. He saw a few people appear out of nowhere on the mountain peak in the distance. Jun Changshao sat on a huge rock with his legs apart. Ding Xingwang stood on the right. He released spiritual energy from his palm to form a wave of air, blowing his black hair to the left. His handsome face was enough to make girls scream. The King of 100 Hills, Gongsun Haohai, and the others either turned sideways or stood behind the patriarch with their arms crossed. The aura they emitted was so strong that it could pierce the sky. As expected. As long as the people of the sect of all times went out, they would definitely carry Pin Ru's wardrobe. Friend. Jun Changshao interlocked his fingers and said coldly, "I advise you to be kind." Chapter 999. Jun Changshao led the group to Spirit Crossing Valley and passed by the Grand Qi sect. He rushed over after hearing a loud noise and happened to see someone torturing Qin Haoran. Patriarch. Old Ding transmitted his voice. These two fellows have overwhelming demonic aura. They should be high-level spirit beasts. Jun Changshao also saw it. Why would powerful spirit beasts appear in southwest Yangzhou? Could it be that the beast race, which had been suppressed since the top experts entered the dimensional battlefield, also wanted to do something on the continent? The Demon Emperor's Gate was restless, and there were frequent secular wars. Now that powerful spirit beasts came out to cause trouble, it was really an eventful time. That's not right. Excluding the 3 overseas prefectures, there were still 9 in the Falling Star continent. Why would 2 spirit beasts comparable to Wu Xing come to southwest Yangzhou? Did they think this place was the easiest to bully? It had been a few years since he transmigrated, and Jun Changshao had completely adapted to it. He treated himself as someone from the Azure Sun County. Now that someone was so arrogant in his own territory, he definitely couldn't tolerate it. Kid. The Antlered King laughed sinisterly. Who are you? It was undeniable that Jun Changshao, Old Ding, and the others carried Pin Ru's wardrobe out, but it didn't take them seriously because the top experts had entered the dimensional battlefield. Who in this world could do anything to it? Azure Sun County's deputy county governor, Jun Changshao said indifferently. Fuck. This fellow actually remembered that I was the Azure Sun County's deputy county governor. Deputy county governor? The Deer Antler King laughed coldly and said, "In that case, Azure Sun County is your territory? That's right. Jun Changshao said indifferently. Kakik. The antlered king laughed strangely. Are you unhappy that I'm doing whatever I want in your territory? Jun Changshao frowned. Is this fellow provoking me? Fine, fine. Since it's so courting death, I'll be a little unreasonable if I don't fulfill its wish. Paw! Jun Changshao raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Whoosh! Suddenly, a domineering force pressed down from above. The force was so strong that it directly shattered space. Brother, be careful! The Tiger King exclaimed. The antlered king also realized the danger. The smile on his face froze, and he hurriedly raised his hands to block. Boom! Hu-hu-hu! In the area where Qin Haoren was lying, violent energy crazily rippled. The Purple King appeared out of thin air in front of him, his right fist landing on the antlered king's arms. Under the accompaniment of gang leader Qiao's background music, the camera zoomed in on his arms. His sleeves instantly exploded, revealing his strong muscles. Jun Changshao collapsed. This guy had dropped at least a few dozen uniforms, and they were all made with money. No! I'll deduct it from his salary tomorrow. The antlered Great King withstood the bombardment and his face gradually twisted. But when he saw the newcomer's appearance, he cried out in alarm, "It's you! Do you still remember me?" The Purple King retracted his fist and gathered his majestic demonic chi for another attack. Boom! The antlered king was unable to stabilize his body after taking the brunt of the attack. He was sent flying and plummeted down the mountain. Brother! The Tiger Force King shouted angrily. Suddenly, Ding Xingwang appeared behind him and performed the 5 ultimate palms, forcing the other party to dodge in a hurry. Boom! 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 On the other side, the Purple King caught up with the antlered king who was plummeting down the mountain. Demonic chi gathered in his palms and bombarded him wildly, creating deep pits in the ground. Rumble! Rumble! The powerful force wreaked havoc, and Noble Spirit Mountain collapsed on a large scale. Although Qin Haoren, Shentong, and the others were the closest to the battle zone, they were not affected by the force because they were protected by a spiritual energy wall in front of them. Thud! Jun Changshao flew down from afar. Jun Patriarch! Shentong said with difficulty, "Thank you for saving us." Jun Changshao said indifferently, "Don't misunderstand. I'm not saving you. I just don't want to see anyone doing evil in Azure Sun County." Shentong, boom! 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 At the foot of the mountain, the violent force wreaked havoc. The ground kept sinking, and the entire Noble Spirit Mountain trembled violently. I visited you in a good mood back then, but you refused because you never fought with humans. Why did you come out today? The Purple King waved his fists wildly and bombarded the antlered king who was trapped underground. He was very angry. Because he hated people who went back on their words. Whoosh! Whoosh! After a round of bombardment, the cold wind blew away the dust in the air. The antlered king was lying in the deep pit with a crooked mouth and eyes. Brother! The Tiger Force King roared angrily. Boom! Boom! Old Ding took this opportunity to go behind the Tiger Force King and perform the 5 ultimate palms. He bombarded the Tiger Force King's back and sent it flying. The Purple King stomped on the ground with his right foot and instantly flew over like a cannonball. Then, he clasped the Tiger Force King's shoulders and threw it to the ground. Boom! Crack! 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 The force of the explosion caused Noble Spirit Mountain to collapse on a large scale again. The disciples who were still alive had fear in their eyes. It was as if they were experiencing the end of the world. When the immortals fought, the immortals suffered. They were worse than the immortals. At most, they were ants. The camera panned to the foot of the mountain. The Purple King stood in the deep pit that extended for dozens of feet. He stepped on the Tiger Force King's face and said coldly, "If it weren't for the fact that we were of the same race, would I have let you live until now? Bullshit. The Tiger Force King endured the pain and said, you couldn't beat us brothers back then. That's why you ran away. Boom. Boom. In order to stop him from continuing, the Purple King raised his foot and stomped on the Tiger Force King's face. Not only was there anger in his eyes, but there was also a strong murderous intent. A real man doesn't talk about his past glory. Today, I've trampled you under my feet. That's enough. Roar. Suddenly, an angry roar came from behind. A deer beast dozens of feet tall stood up from the deep pit, its eyes flashing with intimidating hostility. Seeing this, Shentong and Situ Wang's eyes almost popped out. Whoosh! At this moment, they saw a stream of light fly over and hang in front of the giant deer's head. When the light dissipated, it was Jun Changshao. Despicable human. Die! The antlered king opened its mouth angrily. Heaven and earth attributes quickly rushed in from all directions and formed into a mass of energy. Jun Changshao's right hand clenched into a fist. He activated the mechanical armed wings combat form and immediately threw a punch. Boom! The fist, enhanced by equipment and psionic energy, smashed into the antlered king's head like a mountain. The energy condensed in the antlered king's mouth suddenly dissipated. Then, with a crooked mouth and eyes rolling, the antlered king fell to the side in slow motion for 10 seconds. Boom! Another punch was sent flying. The antlered king, who was already unable to stabilize its body, suffered another heavy blow. It staggered backward and finally fell to the ground like a mountain. Its huge cheeks were dented, and its tongue was hanging out of its mouth. Large amounts of white foam flowed out. Jun Changshao hung in the air. His eyes became abnormally sharp. At this time, if there was a god who photoshopped his hair bald, he would look like someone. Whoosh! The heavily injured antlered king turned into a human and lay on the ground half dead. Jun Changshao landed on the ground and pulled it up. He coldly said, "You dare to cause trouble in my territory? Who gave you the guts?" After being beaten up by the Purple King and being punched twice, this guy's mind was completely messed up. So, he said in a daze, Yuan Gongzi, Yuan Gongzi. Jun Changshao's eyes gradually turned cold. Demon Emperor's Gate. Yuan Gongzi, who was sitting in the room drinking tea, suddenly felt his heartbeat accelerate. Chapter 1000. Boom! Outside Noble Spirit Mountain, another earth-shattering explosion was heard. The ground cracked, and dust filled the sky. The Purple King hovered proudly in the air as if he was looking down on everyone. Wah! In the huge crater, the Tiger Power King spat out a mouthful of blood. Its meridians were severely damaged, and it was clearly in a severely injured state. It was stronger than the Antlered King, but not by much. Naturally, it couldn't withstand the Purple King's attacks. Hall Master Z is getting stronger. Spiritual beasts comparable to martial sages are like little kids. They can't even fight back in front of him. Jiangya, Gong Sun Haohai, and the others exclaimed. Tie them up. Jun Changshao said loudly, bring them to Spirit Crossing Valley. Old Ding and the King of 100 Hills flew over and tied up the severely injured Antlered King and Tiger Power King. Each of them dragged one out of Noble Spirit Mountain. After watching them leave, Shentong and Situyun finally regained their senses. When they stood up and saw the craters at the bottom of the mountain and the cracks in space, they were once again paralyzed with fear. This kind of terrifying battle between saint-level experts was something that he had never even dreamed of. It's over. It's all over. Qin Haoran knelt on the ground and burst into tears as he looked at the ruined main hall. Although the two powerful spirit beasts were subdued by the sect of all times, the destruction they caused was very serious for the noble spirit sect. Even if the sect wasn't destroyed, it was still greatly damaged. Alliance Master Qin. Shentong and Situyun wanted to comfort Qin Haoran, but they didn't know where to start. Yuan Gongzi. On the way to Spirit Crossing Valley, Jun Changshao said coldly, first, you hurt my allies. Now, you instigated spirit beasts to cause trouble in Azure Sun County. Do you think I'm easy to bully? June Patriarch. Shi Jingxian, who was waiting in the distance, saw them flying over with two injured cultivators. She asked in confusion, "What's going on?" "Nothing." June Gosheng laughed, "They're just two idiots who came to my Azure Sun County to cause trouble." The word foolish was a very accurate description. He actually dared to come to southwest Yangzhou to cause trouble without investigating the situation clearly. It was already good enough that he was still alive. "Let's go." June Changshao said, "Let's continue on our way." Screech, the Devil Ridge Black Hawk screeched, flapped its wings, and flew away quickly. Perhaps the two punches made June Changshao feel a little tired. He didn't choose to fly alone, but first landed on the contract beast's back and went with Shi Jingxian to Spirit Crossing Valley. Nothing was said along the way. After flying for a few hours, a mountain range shrouded in darkness appeared in their field of vision. In the deepest part of the mountain range was a valley surrounded by mountains. Spirit Crossing Valley. The #1 forbidden area of the Starfall continent. In a normal plot, many protagonists would benefit greatly from such an environment, and even climb to the peak of their lives. However, when June Changshao landed at the entrance of the valley, and when the Purple King and the others stood behind him, the aura emitted from the #1 forbidden area of the continent seemed to be trembling. Patriarch, Ding Ding said. The Spirit Crossing Valley is huge. Not only are there ferocious beasts, but there are also all kinds of natural treasures. Since we're here, why don't we plunder it? That's what I was thinking. June Changshao came this time not only to seek justice from the Demon Emperor's Gate, but also to see what was so special about the #1 forbidden area of the continent. However, Ding Ding frowned and said, "I heard that there are two beasts that are comparable to." The Purple King crossed his arms and calmly interrupted, "These two guys are the spirit beasts of the Spirit Crossing Valley." Ah! Ding Ding, Jiangya, and the others were dumbfounded. June Changshao was also very surprised and said, "These two beasts are the boss of the Spirit Crossing Valley?" "Humph," the Purple King said calmly, "this king came here to recruit them in the past, but they rejected me." June Changshao walked over and pulled the Antler King in front of him. He coldly said, "Speak, what is your relationship with Yuan Gongzi?" At first, he thought that the two spirit beasts that were comparable to Wu Sheng were Yuan Gongzi's subordinates. Now that he knew that Yuan Gongzi was the boss of the Spirit Crossing Valley, the situation became a bit complicated. The Antler King said with a ferocious expression, I have formed an alliance with Yuan Gongzi. If you don't want to offend this demonic sect, quickly let us go." Formed an alliance? June Changshao sneered and said, "So, it was Yuan Gongzi who instigated you to go to Azure Sun County to cause trouble?" "That's right," the Antler King said. Fortunately, Yuan Gongzi wasn't present, or else he would have vomited blood. June Changshao's eyes turned and said, "Coincidentally, this king wants to find Yuan Gongzi to talk about old times. Since you are the boss of the Spirit Crossing Valley, bring us to find him." "Sure." The Antler King was instantly delighted. These fellows were strong. If he and his big brother were defeated, he would bring them to Yuan Gongzi. The other party would definitely save them on account of their alliance. "Let's go." June Changshao led everyone into the dark Spirit Crossing Valley. The Antler King suppressed his injuries and obediently led the way in front. Perhaps only the beast men would betray their teammates and bring their enemies to their home as guests. Demon Emperor's Gate. Yuan Gongzi anxiously sat on the chair because his heart suddenly beat rapidly, as if something bad was about to happen. "Young master." The black-robed elder standing beside him said, "Your expression is a bit ugly." "Elder Lin." Yuan Gongzi patted his chest and frowned, "I don't know why, but I keep feeling that something bad is about to happen." The black-robed elder said, "Is it because young master's injuries haven't healed?" "No." Yuan Gongzi firmly said, "It has nothing to do with my injuries." The black-robed elder said, "Young master hasn't rested for the past few days. Maybe you have overworked yourself." Now that everything has been arranged, why don't you have a good sleep and recharge your energy for big things? Sigh. Young Master Yuan sighed and said, those old fellows are always laughing at me, and my underlings are always up to no good. How can I dare to slack off in the slightest? The black-robed elder said, young master is shouldering everything by himself. If this goes on, you will collapse sooner or later. My demon emperor's gate has inherited the will of the demon emperor, and after the hard work of our ancestors, we finally have our current achievements. As the vice-gate master, I must be cautious and conscientious. Yuan Gongzi said with a solemn expression. What a pity. The black-robed martial artist said rather angrily, those old fellows can't understand young master. Not only do they oppose you everywhere, but they also offended the sect of all times, which messed up young master's original plans. Don't mention the sect of all times. Yuan Gongzi said haggard, my heart aches. Yuan Feng. Suddenly, an angry roar came from outside, get out here for this great one. His voice was like a clap of thunder, frightening young Master Yuan to his feet. His face was full of fear and he cried out, Jun. Jun Changshao. The black-robed elder said in disbelief, how did he find us? Are the hundreds of thousands of ferocious beasts in Spirit Crossing Valley all blind? Boom! There was an explosion, and the space shook violently. Swish! Swish! Yuan Gongzi hurriedly flew out of the courtyard with the black-robed elder. When he saw that the newly built gate had been smashed into pieces again, he almost couldn't control himself and vomited blood. Wait a minute. Why were the Tiger Force King and the Antler King covered in injuries and being carried away? Could it be that they were fighting with Jun Changshao and the others and got captured? Yuan Gongzi didn't think too much and hurriedly cupped his hands and said politely, Jun Patriarch, we are honored by your presence. I apologize for not going out to welcome you. Please forgive me. Yuan Gongzi. Right at this moment the Antler King shouted, the two of us went to ambush the Azure Sun County and failed. We were captured by this guy. Hurry up and send experts to save us. The two of us went to ambush the Azure Sun County, ambush the Azure Sun County, PFFF. Yuan Gongzi covered his chest with one hand and tilted his head back. Not only did blood spurt 3 meters high, but it also drew a beautiful arc. Chapter 1001. Yuan Gongzi no longer thought about why Jun Changshao was able to come here despite being surrounded by hundreds of thousands of ferocious beasts. It was meaningless. All he could think about was why the other party had come to find him again. While thinking, he noticed Shi Jingxian. After comparing her with the information in his sea of consciousness, he instantly realized that she was the palace master of Miaohua Palace. Understood. Understood. Jun Changshao must have come to seek justice for his woman. Big brother. How long has it been, and you're already here? Can't you give some face to the sects that have been living in seclusion all year round? Although Yuan Gongzi was depressed, he wasn't nervous. In his opinion, it was purely an accident. It was just a misunderstanding. As long as he gave them resources as compensation, they should be able to bury the hatchet. Thinking of this, Yuan Gongzi's mentality gradually relaxed. Let's sneak attack Azure Sun County. The Antlered King was caught off guard when he said this. It was as if a palm print from the depths of the universe had slammed into his heart. In the end, he couldn't bear it and blood splattered 10 feet high. He knew that the two beasts had left Spirit Crossing Valley, but he didn't think of sneak attacking Azure Sun County. After all, this was the Southeast First State. In terms of geographical location, they were at two extremes. Don't panic. Don't panic. Pretend that I don't know these two. Yuan Gongzi. Seeing that he didn't speak, the Antlered King said angrily, we have already formed an alliance. Are you going to leave us in the lurch? Ft. 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 Yuan Gongzi took 3 steps back and vomited 3 mouthfuls of blood. Gorgeous flowers of blood bloomed in midair. It was magnificent. How decisive of him to betray his teammate. The most annoying thing was that the antlered king had betrayed Yuan Gongzi time and time again without knowing it. He even complained that the latter didn't send experts to save him quickly. Sigh. A godlike opponent and a pig-like teammate. Yuan Gongzi, who was dedicated to supporting the demon sect, could only sleep if he could complete his hegemony under such circumstances. Palace Master Shi, please sit. Okay. Shi Jingxian sat on the chair arranged by Jiangya. Jun Changshao also sat down and said, Yuan Gongzi, I can still understand that you injured an ally of the sect of all times. However, sending these two fellows to Azure Sun County to cause trouble is a little too much. Jun Patriarch. Yuan Gongzi suppressed the blood that was about to spurt out from his mouth and hurriedly raised his hand. I swear to the heavens that I definitely didn't send the two of them to Azure Sun County. Their actions have nothing to do with the Demon Emperor's Gate. You think it's okay for you to form an alliance? Jun Changshao said coldly, do you think Jun is a 3-year-old child? Yuan Gongzi almost vomited blood again. In the beginning, he formed an alliance with the two spirit beasts from the Spirit Crossing Valley and used them as chess pieces. In the end, without his authorization, he had recklessly offended Jun Changshao. This was not a fucking chess piece, but a deadly bomb. Jun Patriarch. Yuan Gongzi hurriedly explained, as a human, how can I form an alliance with beasts? Don't listen to their nonsense. You didn't form an alliance? Jun Changshao asked. That's right. Yuan Gongzi said with a serious expression. Bullshit. The antlered king roared, we clearly formed an alliance, and you said that if we assist the Demon Emperor's Gate and achieve great things, we will give the beasts a treasure land. Humph, Yuan Gongzi said coldly, those who are not of my race must have different intentions. How can I form an alliance with evil creatures like you? At this time, he had to distance himself. Accidentally injuring the disciples of Miaohua Palace was enough of a headache. If he went to Azure Sun County to cause trouble, that fellow would use these two things to blackmail him. He was afraid that it would develop into an all-out war. In terms of strength, the Demon Emperor's Gate might not be unable to fight with the Sect of all times. However, Yuan Gongzi knew that if things developed to such a situation, it would only harm him. Moreover, at this moment the experts of the Falling Star continent had entered the planar battlefield, and their overall strength had been greatly reduced. He had to speed up his progress and achieve a substantial breakthrough. How could he divert his attention to fight against the Sect of all times? Brother. The Tiger King said angrily, I told you that humans are unreliable. If Jun Changshao allowed it, Yuan Gongzi really wanted to walk over and give each of them a big kick. He roared, you betrayed your teammates so decisively. Who exactly is the unreliable one? From a normal point of view, the tiger and antlered were unreliable, but they were still beasts. They were the typical simple-minded and well-developed. Since Yuan Gongzi had roped them in as allies, he had the responsibility to take care of any unexpected situations. Patriarch. Jiangya said, Hall Masterly just sent news that the people of the Demon Emperor's Gate appeared near the Little Cold Village. Fortunately, the upper echelons of the War Cavalry Hall and the Extreme Coldness Palace discovered them in time and repelled them. He did not use sound transmission. Yuan Gongzi heard it clearly, and his facial muscles twitched. Yuan Feng. Jun Changshao stood up, startling Shi Jingxian so much that she almost stood up as well. She said angrily, do you really think that my sect of all times is a pushover? Believe it or not, I will join forces with the righteous sects and declare war on the Demon Emperor's Gate. These words were very specific. He did not immediately make a move, nor did he start a war with the sections. Instead, he brought out the righteous sects, meaning to tell Yuan Gongzi that he was not going to be a spectator anymore. He was going to join them and stand on the same side as them. Misunderstanding. It's definitely a misunderstanding. Yuan Gongzi hurriedly explained, I sent people to Luzhou in the northeast to target a third-rate sect. I didn't send my subordinates to any cold village. I can understand if it's a misunderstanding once, but if it's a second or third time, then it's a deliberate provocation. Jun Changshao said with a cold face. Jun Patriarch. Yuan Gongzi did not have the energy to explain, so he went straight to the point. I sincerely apologize for all the misunderstandings that have happened. I am willing to compensate with spiritual stones and other resources. Jun Changshao said angrily, even if you take out a few billion spiritual stones, how can you exchange them for 2 Miaohua Palace disciples in their prime? Yuan Gongzi did not say anything. The people who died were not your Sect of all time's disciples. You don't have to be so agitated. Besides, even if I can bring the Miaohua Palace disciples back to life, I can't take out a few billion spiritual stones. Jun Patriarch, I ordered my subordinates to attack the Lily Holy Sect and accidentally hurt the Miaohua Palace disciples. As an apology, the Demon Emperor's Gate is willing to give you 200,000 spiritual stones. Artificial? Natural? Artificial. 200,000 artificial spiritual stones for 2 lives? Do you think I'm a beggar? After being scammed once, Yuan Gongzi had some experience. So, he asked meekly, how does Jun Patriarch want to compensate? Jun Changshao said, recently, your Demon Emperor's Gate has destroyed many righteous sects and sections. You must have obtained a lot of resources. Since Yuan Gongzi sincerely wants to compensate, you should hand over all the resources you obtained. This. Yuan Gongzi's mouth twitched. Jun Changshao said with a dark expression, you can disagree. I won't force you. Big brother. You have a threatening expression on your face, and you have the nerve to say, won't force you. Jun Patriarch. Yuan Gongzi said with a bitter expression, although my Demon Emperor's Gate has been attacking a lot recently, the sects we destroyed are only 4th or 5th class. There is nothing to gain. How about this? I am willing to give you 2 million artificial spiritual stones, herbs, ores, and other resources as compensation. Without natural spiritual stones, everything is off the table. Yuan Gongzi gritted his teeth and said, I will add another 200,000 natural spiritual stones. These were the resources they obtained from robbing a few 4th or 5th class sections. They were all taken out as compensation, which showed their sincerity. Jun Changshao said, Palace Master Shi, what do you think? Shi Jingxian was silent for a while and said, Jun Patriarch, you decide. This woman was very smart. She handed the matter to Jun Changshao when she was in a difficult situation. Yuan Gongzi. Jun Changshao said, then we will compensate you with 2 million artificial spiritual stones, 200,000 natural spiritual stones, and various ores and herbs. Yuan Gongzi was secretly delighted. However, Jun Changshao added, this is only the compensation from Miaohua Palace. Next, we have to settle the matter of your 2 allies causing trouble in Azure Sun County, as well as the matter of Little Cold Village in northeast Lu Prefecture. Ah! Yuan Gongzi almost collapsed to the ground. Jun Changshao. Suddenly, a cold voice came from the depths of the Demon Emperor's Gate's inner court. Don't go too far. The voice contained a powerful aura, which shook the space and made the Purple King, Old Ding, and the others frown. The strength of the person who spoke was probably not weaker than the sky battlefield ghost. Wusheng at the peak. Jun Changshao thought. Yuan Gongzi, who was standing opposite him, said with a look of disbelief, the Gate Master is back. Chapter 1002. In the outer courtyard of the Demon Emperor's Gate, a group of black-clothed masked men jumped out. They stood in 2 rows. Their right arms trembled slightly, and the 3-feet-long swords on their backs flew out of their sheaths and connected to each other in midair, extending to the gate like a paved road. Welcome, Gate Master. Whoosh! A black-clothed man with a strong demonic aura flew out from the inner courtyard. His feet stepped lightly on the long sword, and like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, he landed on the gate with a plaque with the words, Demon Emperor's Gate, engraved on it. Holy shit! Jun Changshao's eyes widened. This kind of entrance was simply too flashy. If I have time, I should also study how to make an entrance. Only then can I have the style of a sect master. Gate master. Yuan Gongzi and the black-clothed old man hurriedly bowed respectfully. Yes. The Demon Emperor's gate master nodded. Because he was wearing a ferocious mask, it was difficult to see his face clearly. June Patriarch. He stood in front of the gate like a high and mighty king, and said, June Patriarch has repeatedly come to ask for money. Do you think my Demon Emperor's gate is a bank? June Changshao said rather unhappily, you're saying it as if I'm deliberately trying to extort money? The Demon Emperor's gate master sneered and said, June Patriarch, my Demon Emperor's gate has hurt your allies. I deeply apologize. As for compensation, I don't need it. Yuan Gongzi's mouth twitched slightly. He was still planning to negotiate with June Changshao, but the gate master's appearance completely messed up his plan. If the two sides couldn't come to an agreement because of this, the conflict would definitely continue to worsen until it reached an irreconcilable point. My heart. So tired, so tired, so tired. Yuan Gongzi. June Changshao looked over and frowned slightly, and said, your gate master said that he's deeply sorry and doesn't intend to compensate. Yuan Gongzi, June Patriarch. The Demon Emperor's gate master said indifferently, I have already given you enough face by expressing my apologies. If you know what's good for you, leave quickly. From now on, we will mind our own business. What if I don't leave? June Changshao asked coldly. He had come all the way to Spirit Crossing Valley and had the palace master of Miaohua Palace by his side. If he returned empty-handed, how could he show his face in public? June Patriarch, it wasn't easy for your sect of all times to achieve what you have today. Don't ruin your future because of petty greed, the Demon Emperor's gate master said. Are you threatening me? June Changshao asked with a cold gaze. Who? The gate master of the Demon Emperor's gate released a powerful demonic aura that instantly filled the air. He said faintly, I just want to let June Patriarch know the truth. A threat. It was a blatant threat. Ding. Side mission activated. June Changshao opened the mission panel. It said teach the Demon Emperor's gate master a lesson, elite mission. It was very simple and straightforward. Yuan Gongzi. June Changshao retracted the data on the panel that only he could see and said indifferently, your gate master doesn't know how to walk. Yuan Gongzi was silent. He was only the vice gate master and had no right to interfere with the gate master's decision. Heavens! What kind of teammates do I have? Fine. June Changshao said, since you don't want to pay and threaten me, then I can only. His gaze suddenly turned cold. Let's start a full-scale war. Start a war? The Demon Emperor's gate master sneered. June Patriarch, you think too highly of yourself. Is that so? June Changshao pointed to the sky and said, look, it's a gray plane. Gray plane. Everyone was stunned and looked up subconsciously. Whoosh! At this moment, the Purple King, whose clothes had exploded, was suspended in midair. He suddenly stretched out his right hand and a strong demonic aura turned into a strange giant hand that mercilessly pressed down on the gate. Impudent! The Demon Emperor's gate master shouted coldly and suddenly raised his hands. Demonic aura surged like waves and instantly met the palm full of demonic aura. Boom! The two strong forces fiercely collided in midair. Ripples visible to the naked eye instantly rippled in all directions, followed by a deafening explosion. The 100 or so disciples in the outer courtyard of the Demon Emperor's gate were wantonly disturbed and retreated. Their eyes were suddenly filled with horror. Yuan Gongzi's heart was cold. At this point, the conflict between the Demon Emperor's gate and the sect of all times was irreversible. They had been trying to avoid becoming enemies with June Changshao, but in the end, they still met on the battlefield. This was undoubtedly very painful. Boom! Boom! In the area filled with demonic aura, two consecutive explosions were heard. The Purple King and the Demon Emperor's gate master were seen flying out. In an instant, they fought from a low altitude to a high altitude. Every punch was enough to shatter the void. Palace Master Shi Jun Changshao released his spiritual energy and formed a defensive air wall in front of him. He asked, "Are you okay?" I'm fine," Shi Jingxian said. She was only a martial king. If she didn't have the air wall protecting her, it would be difficult for her to resist the pressure released by the Demon Emperor's Gate Master. Boom! Boom! In the sky, the battle was still going on. This level of battle could be said to be earth-shattering. The higher-ups and disciples of the Demon Emperor's Gate were all dumbfounded. Boom! The Purple King and the Demon Emperor's Gate Master exchanged another punch. They were immediately sent flying and then staggered to the ground. It was obvious that they were at a disadvantage again. The Purple King wasn't depressed. Instead, the corner of his mouth raised in disdain. In terms of strength, this Demon Emperor's Gate Master was far weaker than the battlefield Spectre. Even if he couldn't beat him, he wouldn't be defeated too badly. Hall Master Z. Jun Changshao transmitted his voice, "Wear him down first. When you're almost done, leave it to me." The Purple King's mouth twitched violently. The Demon Emperor's Gate Master sneered, "No wonder you dared to come to my territory to extort money. It turns out that you have such a powerful subordinate. Cut the crap." Boom! 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 The two of them fought fiercely in the sky again. Under the explosion of power, a large area of space collapsed. Roar! Roar! When the fierce beasts of Spirit Crossing Valley felt the two terrifying powers, they all fled in panic. The dimensional battlefield spatial barrier was very strong, but it still couldn't withstand the battle between the Purple King and the battlefield Spectre. It was needless to say that the spatial barrier of the falling star continent was even more so. Therefore, the two of them had only exchanged a few dozen moves, and the collapsed area in the sky had already spread for hundreds of feet. Demonic aura and demonic aura were rampant, as if the whole world was about to be shattered. Demonic palm. Bang! Boom! The Purple King fell again like a cannonball, and the ground suddenly caved in. The Tiger King and the Antler King, who were restrained, were furious. After all, this was their territory. If they were allowed to fight without restraint, it would be completely destroyed sooner or later. Damn it! The Purple King slowly rose, his eyes flashing with anger. In terms of strength, this Demon Emperor's Gate Master was inferior to the Sky Battlefield Spectre. Why was it that the more they fought, the more troublesome it became? That was because he was a demonic cultivator who had a mind of his own, mastered all kinds of martial arts, and had rich combat experience. The battlefield Spectre that they fought earlier was just a powerful low-level creature. Swish! The Purple King raised his hand. The space ring on his little finger flashed, and Hell Fury appeared out of thin air. Seeing him wear a pink boxing glove with a heart pattern, the disciples of the Demon Emperor's Gate were in a mess. Not to mention that he was naked, he even wore something that only girls would use. This purple-haired guy was definitely a big pervert. The Demon Emperor's Gate Master frowned and said, "Disgusting." Swish! At this moment, the Purple King appeared in front of him, and a fistful of love suddenly smashed over. Boom! The Demon Emperor's Gate Master flew out and crashed into the mountain peak in the distance. Swish! The Purple King flew over, and the pink fist instantly exploded, blasting toward the mountain peak. Boom boom boom. The explosions continued, and dust flew everywhere. The Purple King stopped, and the wind blew everything away. The Demon Emperor's Gate Master crossed his hands in the air, and there was a materialized barrier around him to protect him. The mountain peak behind him was blasted to the ground under the power. Chapter 1003. At first, Hall Master Z was against Hell Rage because it did not fit his wild and domineering image. However, after experiencing its benefits, he liked it very much and even asked for a space ring to store it. No one hated equipment that could increase one's strength, even the demon kings from the upper realm were no exception. The demon emperor's gate master's eyes gradually turned cold, but he was shocked. He thought to himself, this guy's gauntlet is probably a divine-grade treasure. Swoosh! The purple king rushed over again. The gauntlet gathered power and instantly burst out with a fierce fist mark. Boom! 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 The two of them fought in the air again. The purple craggy goblin king, who was originally at a disadvantage, became abnormally bold and unrestrained after equipping hellish rage. The demon emperor's gate master was in a more difficult situation. He could only defend passively and could not launch an effective attack. In terms of means, he was stronger than the battlefield specter. However, he did not have an excellent defensive armor like the opponent, so he could not withstand the fierce attacks. Boom! Just then, the craggy monster king landed a heavy punch on the devil emperor's Sect master's defensive wall, shattering it into pieces. June Patriarch. Shi Jingxian said in disbelief, "Your hall master is so strong." Jun Changshao said, "The show has just begun." He had already communicated with the magically modified vacuum cleaner in the space ring. As long as the Purple King exhausted the Demon Emperor's Gate Master, it would be summoned out and directly attack. He dared to come to the Demon Emperor's Gate to extort money without any scruples. He relied on this kind of product that could absorb unclean things. Of course. After all, the Demon Emperor's Gate Master was very strong. Teach him a lesson with the magically modified vacuum cleaner. Otherwise, he would not even have a chance to get close to him. Boom! Boom! The violent battle was still going on. Under the wanton disturbance of power, the space had already collapsed beyond recognition. Yuan Gongzi, who was watching from the outer courtyard, smiled bitterly. A hall master was on par with the sect leader, and even had the upper hand. This sect of all times was indeed not simple. Making an enemy out of them was indeed a bad idea. Boom! The purple craggy monster monarch threw another punch at him. The Demon Emperor's Gate Master was sent flying, but he managed to stabilize himself in a sorry state. His cold eyes flickered with disbelief. It was just a moment ago that Zhang Xian was still able to test him in various aspects, but after putting on the gloves, he was actually suppressed instead. Even if he was equipped with God-tier equipment, there was no way he could be that powerful. The divine-tier equipment in the Falling Star continent was not that powerful. However, the divine weapon that was exclusive to Hall Leader Z came from the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Naturally, it was more powerful. Come on! Fight to your heart's content. The Purple King's eyes were blazing as he charged over once more and unleashed an earth-shattering bombardment. He was having a good time. Crossing Spirit Valley was in trouble. This was because under such a high-intensity bombardment, the ground and space continued to crack and spread, and the deepest and most complete destruction was being carried out. Roar! Roar! The ferocious beasts that lived here all year round fled in fear. Under such terrifying power, the only thing they could do was to witness their homes being destroyed. No, the Tiger King and the Antler King were grieving. Boom! Boom! The Purple King continued to bombard the gate's gate with all his demonic aura. In the face of absolute power, even if the sect master of the Devil Emperor's sect had an elusive movement technique, he could only passively defend and passively take a beating. After being beaten for the nth time, the mask on his face suddenly cracked. His black hair danced in the wind, revealing a hideous face covered in scars. So ugly! Jun Changshao frowned. The Demon Emperor's Gate Master's face was like a scar left behind by burns. Due to the beating from the Purple King, it was distorted. Not only did it look ugly, but it was also very scary. Shi Jingxian was so scared that she did not dare to look. She hurriedly turned her head. Pfft! At this moment, the Demon Emperor's Gate Master spat out a mouthful of blood. Gate Master! Yuan Gongzi and the others exclaimed. The Demon Emperor's Gate Master wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said with a cold gaze, when did the falling star continent have such a powerful spirit beast? Swish! Swish! At this moment, the Demon Emperor's gate's higher-ups, who had reached the level of Wusheng and half-step sage, flew out from the inner court. Then, they unleashed their auras and glared. Jun Changshao said indifferently, "Is this a gang fight?" The Demon Emperor's gate's gate master said coldly, "Jun Changshao, how dare you blackmail my Demon Emperor's gate? Do you think you can leave safely?" Swish! Swish! In the inner court, Wu Huang and even the Martial King-level powerhouses of the Demon Emperor's gate all flew out. The number of people added up to more than 1,000, and they surrounded the Sect of All Times' group. Yuan Gongzi's heart was in pain. The Gate Master had deployed all the Sect's elites. This was clearly showing that he wanted to shed all pretense of cordiality with the Sect of All Times and fight to the end. Things had developed to this point. This was the last thing he wanted to see. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "This time, I came here hoping to reason things out peacefully. Since the Demon Emperor's gate doesn't know what's good for you, don't blame Jun for being ruthless." Huff huff. Huff huff huff. Ding Xingwang, Gong Sun Haohai, Jiang Ye, and the others, who were standing behind him, released their cultivation. On the screen, the Demon Emperor's gate's experts were hovering around. The Sect of All Times' higher-ups were also prepared for battle. It indicated that an even more intense battle was about to take place in Spirit Crossing Valley. Swish! Swish! Thousands of Demon Emperor's Gate disciples rushed out from the inner court. In terms of numbers, the Sect of All Times was at a disadvantage. In terms of overall strength, the Sect of All Times was still at a disadvantage. After all, the Purple King was being held back by the Demon Emperor's Gate's Gate Master. Who would deal with the higher-ups at Wusheng's level? Old Ding wasn't weak, but he wasn't that monstrous. 1 against 2 was his limit. From this, it could be seen that the Sect of All Times was still a little weak in terms of top-level combat strength. Especially Jun Changshao. As the Sect Master, other than a killer move like Unstoppable Blade, his strength was still inferior to the Purple King's. Sect of All Times, Demon Emperor's Gate. The two forces were at loggerheads. Shi Jingxian had already stood up when she realized that the situation wasn't right. She subconsciously approached Jun Changshao and gathered the spiritual energy in her body in her palm. Although she was only a martial king, there was a purified mysterious energy in her dantian. Once it was activated, she would enter a berserk state, so her combat strength couldn't be underestimated. Jun Patriarch. Shi Jingxian transmitted her voice, "I'm sorry." "Why are you sorry?" Jun Changshao didn't understand. Shi Jingxian said, "It's because of my ingenious flower palace that you became enemies with the Demon Emperor's Gate. We're allies. If one of us is in trouble, we'll definitely come to help." If he wasn't afraid that the readers would say that he took advantage of the girl, Jun Changshao might have patted her head and called her an idiot. Jun Patriarch. At this moment, Yuan Gongzi transmitted his voice, "My Sect Master has a bad temper. Please take her and leave quickly. When I have time, I'll personally go to the Sect of All Times and have a peaceful talk." He wanted to stop the two from acting rashly. He didn't want things to get out of hand. "I'm sorry." Jun Changshao raised his hand and said with a cold gaze, "I have a bad temper too." The space suddenly shook, and the world finger appeared out of thin air. The groove flickered, indicating that the cooldown of the sure kill skill, one look through, was completely off. Chapter 1004. When Jun Changshao summoned the Finger of Mountains and Rivers, the Demon Emperor's Gate Sect Master and the others were stunned. From the overall shape, they instantly deduced that it was a weapon. However, when they saw the two fingers pointing to the sky at the top, the corners of their mouths twitched. This weapon was too weird. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others were not here. Otherwise, when they saw the Patriarch take out his exclusive divine weapon, they would definitely subconsciously cover their butts. Jun Patriarch. Shi Jingxian asked in a low voice, "Is this itchy scratch?" Jun Changshao was very hurt. If not for the fact that the finger of mountains and rivers was an indiscriminate attack, he would definitely not take it out. Because it was too embarrassing. Palace Master Shi, this is not itchy scratch. Jun Changshao placed the divine weapon in front of him and said proudly, this is a special weapon that is unforgettable. Unforgettable? Shi Jingxuan's bright eyes were filled with anticipation. Although the finger of mountains and rivers' appearance was a bit out of place, since Jun Changshao took it out, it must be extraordinary. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changshao said, step back. Leave this trash to me. Okay. Shi Jingxian took a few steps back. Her cultivation was not high enough to provide him with any help. She could only stand behind and cheer for him in her heart. Shwa! Jun Changshao waved the finger of mountains and rivers and pointed at the Demon Emperor's Gate Sect Master and said, tell your people to come at me. He couldn't wait to see the Demon Emperor's Gate from top to bottom. Only then would he be able to use his ultimate skill. Jun Changshao. The Demon Emperor's Gate Sect Master said in a low voice, return the resources that you extorted from my Demon Emperor's Gate, and I can consider letting you go. He also didn't want things to develop to a point where they couldn't be reconciled. After all, the Sect of all times could rise so quickly. There might be some great power behind it. I'm sorry. Jun Changshao said, money that has entered the pockets of Jun's people is Jun's people's money. Why would I return it? If that's the case, then don't leave. The Demon Emperor's Gate Master raised his hand. Hoo-hoo. Hoo-hoo-hoo. Behind him, several Wusheng and more than a dozen half-sages burst out their cultivation, their eyes filled with strong killing intent. If they were to face the Purple King, they would definitely be very afraid. But now that the faction leader was holding them back, the others had nothing to fear. Sovereign. Yuan Gongzi said with an ugly expression, this subordinate believes that there is a misunderstanding. Our Demon Emperor's Gate and the Sect of all times can discuss this peacefully, Yuan Feng. The Gate Master of the Demon Emperor's Gate interrupted him. You have repeatedly tolerated the Sect of all times, and even gave us a lot of resources without hesitation. You have truly disappointed me. As soon as he said this, several elders were secretly delighted. They had always been unhappy with Yuan Gongzi because he had always emphasized not to provoke Jun Changshao. Now that the Gate Master was disappointed in him, he might directly deprive him of his rights. Sovereign, after this matter is over, you will be in charge of the library. Yuan Gongzi froze in place. Several elders were immediately overjoyed. The Gate Master had let this guy manage the library. It was obvious that he was going to abandon him. Sovereign. The black-clothed old man said, for the sake of the Demon Emperor's Gate, Yuan Gongzi has worked hard without complaint, even forgetting to eat and sleep. You, go and follow him, the Demon Emperor's Gate Master said. Pfft. Yuan Gongzi spat out blood, and his whole body was on the verge of collapsing. Ever since he was appointed as the Deputy Gate Master of the Demon Emperor's Gate, he had been doing his best to manage the sect. He didn't dare to slack off in the slightest. Even the slightest layout had to be considered late at night. It could be said that he had worked hard until his death. In the end, he was demoted to manage the library. Yuan Gongzi. Jun Changshao said, have you been fired? Pfft. Yuan Gongzi spat out another mouthful of blood. I, Yuan Feng, have fallen to this state, and it's all because of you. A place like the Compendium Pavilion can even be guarded by dogs. Asking you to take care of it is a blatant humiliation. Jun Changshao said, come, join the Sect of all times. I will provide you with a stage to realize your talents and ambitions. The Demon Emperor's Gate Master's mouth twitched slightly. Did he think of himself as a decoration? That's why he dared to poach him so openly. Sorry. Yuan Gongzi tried to stand firm, and said with a firm gaze, Yuan Feng, have become a member of the Demon Emperor's Gate. I swear to follow the Demon Emperor forever. Jun Changshao shook his head, and pointed at the Tiger King, the Antler King, the Demon Emperor's Gate Master, and the group of elders who were gloating, and said, these pig teammates will kill you sooner or later. Forget it, forget it. Everyone has their own ambitions. Since you are so loyal, I will not let you bear the name of a traitor. Get out of the way. Jun Changshao said with a sharp voice, I am going to show off. Swish. 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 In an instant, old Ding, Gong Sun Haohai, and the others who were standing behind him quickly retreated. Shi Jingxian, who didn't understand, saw them leave and hurriedly followed. A moment later, there was no one within a few hundred feet of Jun Changshao's area. The stage for showing off could be said to be big and spacious. Swish! He raised his hand. Jun Changshao, patriarch of the sect of all times, please enlighten me. Everyone's mouth twitched. The Demon Emperor's Gate Master said with interest. Jun Patriarch asked his subordinates to retreat. Could it be that he wants to fight with fewer people? That's right, Jun Changshao said. Clap, clap, clap. The Demon Emperor's Gate Master applauded and said, as expected of the patriarch of the sect of all times, who has been in the news recently. You have courage. Swish. He raised his hand. Swish. 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 The experts of the Demon Emperor's Gate immediately flew over. Those Wu Huang and King Wu also rushed over from the mountain gate and surrounded Jun Changshao in a fan shape. As a hidden force of the demon sect, they naturally didn't care about fighting with more people. Moreover, it was the other party's request, so they naturally had to cooperate unconditionally. Go! The Demon Emperor's Gate Master said lightly. Swish! Swish! In an instant, the experts of the Demon Emperor's Gate all unleashed their cultivation. All kinds of energy fiercely pressed over from three directions. Under such a situation, even the Purple King was a bit overwhelmed. However, not only did Jun Changshao have a calm expression, but his eyes were also looking around to capture any demonic cultivators present. Although there are only a little more than 1,000 people, but... He placed his thumb on the groove and said with a sharp gaze, it's worth using my ultimate skill. Paw! He pressed his thumb on the groove with a little force. Ding! Fingerprint match successful. User is the patriarch of the sect of all times. Requirements met. Loading ultimate skill 1%. 10%. 100%. Loading successful. Ultimate skill, see through at a glance, activated. Huff huff, the finger of mountains and rivers suddenly erupted with gray air waves, spreading to the sky and then condensing into two clouds, one in the shape of a vortex, the other in the shape of a middle finger. What is this? The disciples of the Demon Emperor's Gate were stunned. The leader of the Demon Emperor's Gate also had a face full of surprise. After feeling the aura from the sky, an ominous feeling suddenly spread from the soles of his feet to his buttocks. The camera turned to Jun Changshao again. This guy held the finger of mountains and rivers in front of him, using his fingers to open his eyes to the maximum, sweeping across the Demon Emperor's Gate in his field of vision one by one, trying to make sure that he did not miss out on any of them. Huff huff. The vortex was vertical, and the middle finger was horizontal, suddenly piercing through. Just as the experts of the Demon Emperor's Gate were about to make a move, a force from the depths of hell directly stabbed at them from behind. See through at a glance belonged to the category of invisible killing. Normally, there shouldn't be any movement, but after it was used, someone could faintly hear someone singing, chrysanthemums are ruined, the ground is full of wounds, your smile has turned yellow. Ah! 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 Plop! Plop! In an instant, as long as the Demon Emperor's Gate martial artists were stared at by Jun Changshao, regardless of their cultivation level, they all knelt on the ground in pain and completely lost the ability to fight. The most tragic ones were Wu Huang and King Wu. Because of the invisible attack, they foamed at the mouth and fainted on the spot. Boom! The Demon Emperor's Gate's Gate Master fell from midair, his legs clamped together, and the expression on his face alternated between green and green. Although he, whose strength had reached the great fulfillment of Wusheng, could resist the attack directly, this kind of attack was too unexpected, so much so that a burning pain came from his buttocks, as if he was being burned by a raging fire. More than 1,000 people fell to the ground together with their buttocks sticking out. The scene was quite shocking. Old Ding, Gong Sun Haohai, and the others widened their eyes. The patriarch didn't do anything, so why did they all fall to the ground in pain as if their vitals were attacked? Shi Jingxian said in disbelief, "This. What's going on?" Yuan Gongzi was also very puzzled, because other than the Demon Emperor's Gate's Gate Master, he was the only one who remained standing and didn't suffer the attack of see-through at a glance. Yuan Gongzi. Jun Changshao showed a cunning smile and said, "Happy cooperation." Chapter 1005. Jun Patriarch, we can be considered old friends. Are you going to leave without chatting for a while? Yuan Gongzi had once said this in front of the righteous sects on Mount Inghui. The result was that Jun Changshao was suspected of colluding with the demon sect. Playing tricks on me? Fine. The narrow-minded Jun Changshao would remember this in his heart. Today, when he had used his killing move, all of the Demon Emperor's sect martial artists present had seen it, but they hadn't looked at him. Thus, he hadn't suffered an attack that could be seen through. After the matter was over, he even said, "Young Master Yuan, it's a pleasure working with you." Just a few words, but a lot of information. Yuan Gongzi's expression suddenly became interesting. He then hurriedly looked at the Demon Emperor's Gate Sect Master and saw him glaring at him. "It's over. There must be a misunderstanding." Sect Master, Yuan Gongzi was just about to explain himself when a Wuxing-level elder who was enduring the pain in his buttocks angrily rebuked, "Yuan Feng, you actually colluded with the sect of all times." Another elder's IQ instantly reached the peak. He gritted his teeth and said, "No wonder they could find the sect's hiding place one after another. There was a traitor." Yuan Gongzi was in despair. These old guys usually had a lot of opinions about him. Now that Jun Changshao opened his mouth, they would definitely seize the opportunity to attack him. No matter how the elders misunderstood him, it was not a problem. It was fine as long as the sect master believed in him. Yuan Feng. The Demon Emperor's Gate sect master's eyes flashed coldly and said, "You disappoint me too much." When Yuan Gongzi heard this, he felt as if he was instantly thrown into an extremely cold hell. Then, the most tragic mouthful of blood came out from his throat. Yuan Gongzi stood in place with his hair disheveled, and a miserable smile appeared on his face. Young master." The black-robed old man covered his buttocks and shouted with a ferocious expression. Yuan Gongzi looked at the hall of the Demon Emperor's Gate. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he roared in grief, "Yuan Feng, I'm doing this for the sake of the Demon Emperor's Gate. For the will of the Demon Emperor. Complete focus. Working day and night. In the end, all you get is distrust. Ridiculous. How laughable. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha." Yuan Gongzi raised his head and laughed. Tears flowed down his cheeks uncontrollably. For so many years, how many days and nights, he had given his all for the sect, even to the point of death. In the end, because of a single sentence from someone else, all the higher-ups, including the sect master, were questioning him. What a tragedy. What a desolate fate. Patriarch. Old Ding transmitted his voice, "Is that guy crazy?" Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "A king leading a group of bronze and silver teammates. If it were me, I would also go crazy." Yuan Feng, stop acting. The sect of all times came to our stronghold one after another. You must be the one who leaked the news. You traitor. 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 The ear-piercing voice echoed in Yuan Gongzi's mind. His internal organs seemed to be crazily squeezed. In the end, he leaned back and spat out blood. At this time, if Xiao Ziji was here, he might have taken out Hero Yun Zhou and helped him wear it himself. This was because this was the true scapegoat, the true embodiment of chivalry. Plop. Yuan Gongzi collapsed with a pale face. Fortunately, his cultivation was not bad, and the HP bar above his head was relatively long. If it were a normal person, they would have vomited blood and died. Ta! Jun Changshao walked over from behind and carefully helped him up, saying, "Old Yuan, you've worked hard these years." The eyes of the Demon Emperor's Gate's Sect Master immediately turned cold. Looking at the current situation, not to mention managing the library, it was already good enough that he could stay alive in the Demon Emperor's Gate. Jun Changshao. Yuan Gongzi had lost too much blood and was completely weak. Although his eyes were about to split open, he still said weakly, "Do you really want to kill me?" "It's impolite not to reciprocate," Jun Changshao said telepathically. Pfft. Yuan Gongzi spat out another mouthful of blood. At this moment, he deeply understood that with this guy's interference, he could no longer stay in the Demon Emperor's Gate. "Old Jiang," Jun Changshao said, "help old Yuan." "Yes." Jiangya walked forward, picked up the weak Yuan Gongzi, and then returned to the group. Swoosh! At this time, the Demon Emperor's Gate's Sect Master, who had been keeping his legs closed, suddenly rushed over. Powerful demonic energy gathered in his palms, as if it had turned into two roaring demons. Huff huff, the power wreaked havoc, and the space suddenly collapsed into nothingness. The Demon Emperor's Gate's Sect Master attacked very quickly. However, when the condensed power blasted over, not only did it not hit the target, but also felt cold again. Not good. Huff huff, suddenly, a force came from behind. Jun Changshao had circled behind the Demon Emperor's Gate's Sect Master without anyone noticing. He held the finger of the world with both hands, gathered light at the tip of his two fingers, and then stabbed fiercely. Bang! Because it was a physical attack, there was a sound this time. Ah! The camera zoomed out, and the Demon Emperor's Gate's Sect Master suddenly flew up from the ground, leaving a trail of faint white smoke behind his butt, and died in midair. A sure kill skill, see-through, was an invisible attack. After Jun Changshao activated it, thousands of people were instantly killed. The Purple King and the others were completely dumbfounded. This time, when they saw the Patriarch use a strange weapon to stab the Demon Emperor's Gate's Sect Master's butt, the corners of their mouths twitched. Shi Jingxian covered her mouth, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. This is a special weapon that is unforgettable. Jun Changshao's previous words rang in her ears, and she finally understood how unforgettable it was. Plop! The Demon Emperor's Gate's Sect Master fell from the sky, and then sank into a deep pit in the shape of a U. There was still residual white smoke curling up from the indescribable part of his butt. Ding! Side mission completed. Obtained 20,000 merit points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 4765070000. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the side mission. Obtained mission rewards, high-grade body shaping pill Formula X1, Yellow Spring One-Day Tour Formula X1, New Seal Talisman X1. Another Seal Talisman. Jun Changshao was overjoyed. Since the modification of hard-to-retract blade, he had only obtained a total of 2. Later, he used one to unlock the seal, and now he received another one, which made him more confident. The formula for the high-grade body shaping pill was also very good. Once refined, it could improve the disciple's physical defense to another level. However, what was the Yellow Spring One-Day Tour formula? Weapon? Talisman? Or pill? Jun Changshao didn't think too much about it. He went to the front of the Demon Emperor's Gate's Sect Master and said, "Why didn't you just fly out? Why did you have to imitate Heaven-Earth Faction's Chief Chen's appearance? If you don't die, who will?" The Demon Emperor's Gate's Sect Master was already speechless, because the burning pain from his butt was too intense. Although the Pointer of Rivers and Mountains was a weirdo, he was still the only one above divine grade in the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Although the other party had Wuxing's peak cultivation, after being exhausted by the Purple King, he definitely couldn't withstand it. This was probably the most embarrassing defeat in the history of Falling Star Continent, second only to Martial Emperors. Speak. Jun Changshao said, "Choose death, or choose to pay." Pay. Pooh. As soon as the Demon Emperor's Gate Sect Master's voice faded, Yuan Gongzi vomited blood again. Poor guy, his head was full of blood when he came out of the inner court. After being attacked one after another, his blood was almost all gone. Chapter 1006. The Demon Emperor's Gate's Gate Master was tortured and immediately became obedient. He agreed to settle the matter with the money. This not only made Yuan Gongzi vomit blood, but it also made his heart bleed. Why did he do it in the first place? Because your performance just now made me very unhappy. I need to pay 10 million artificial spirit stones and 1 million natural spirit stones, Jun Changshao said. Yuan Gongzi's mouth twitched. The Demon Emperor's Gate could take out this amount, but it would definitely break his bones. Jun Patriarch, this is too much. Don't talk nonsense with me. Hurry up and take out the money, or else. Jun Changshao summoned the green dragon crescent blade and stabbed it in the neck of the Demon Emperor's Gate's Gate Master. The sharp blade shocked him. He hurriedly said, "Okay. Great Elder, hurry up and get the money for Jun Patriarch." Not long after, the Great Elder, whose but was still in pain, took out all the spirit stones. As for the treasury, it was already empty. There were not many resources left. Jun Changshao took them and counted them one by one. He said coldly, "Listen to me. Don't provoke the sect of all times in the future. Let's go." Old Ding, the Purple King, and the others followed the Patriarch and left. They also brought the Tiger King, the Antler King, and Yuan Gongzi, who was vomiting blood until the sky turned dark. Gate Master. After they disappeared, several higher-ups of the Demon Emperor's Gate stood up with difficulty, holding their butts. There was intense pain in their eyes. Yuan Feng, Yuan Feng. The Demon Emperor's Gate's Gate Master was lying on the ground. He clenched his fist and said, "I misjudged you. That's why I let you take care of the sect's internal affairs." The elders' eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. At this moment, they had completely regarded Yuan Gongzi as a traitor. If he was not taken away by Jun Changshao, they would not let him have an easy time. Swish! Shwa! Inside the Spirit Crossing Valley, Jiangya, Old Ding, and the others were shuttling about without restraint, searching for various medicinal herbs, ores, and other resources. Needless to say, the resources here were really abundant. This was especially true when they entered the depths of the forest. Every few steps they took, they would be able to find medicinal herbs that were quite old. As the #1 forbidden area on the Starfall continent, it had been untouched by humans for many years. Naturally, it nurtured countless natural treasures. Hundreds of thousands of ferocious birds and ferocious beasts could only tremble and hide in the dark. They did not dare to jump out to stop them because the strength of these humans was too strong. The two big shots were also captured by them. It was all the Demon Emperor's Gate's fault. If they hadn't moved their territory to the Spirit Crossing Valley, how would they have attracted a group of bandits? At this moment, Tiger King and Antler King, who had been thrown into the cave, were cursing the Demon Emperor's Gate thousands of times in their hearts. "The two of you." Jun Changshao sat on a chair at the entrance of the cave and asked, "Have you made up your mind?" Jun Patriarch. The Tiger King said, "If we submit to you, will we still have absolute freedom?" "That's right." Jun Changshao said, "As long as you sincerely submit, not only will you be able to come and go freely, but you will also be appointed as the Vice Hall Master of the Spirit Beast Hall." After making a decision, the Tiger King said with difficulty, "We submit." If they hadn't seen the Demon Emperor's Gate's Gate Master and the higher-ups being tortured, they might still be unyielding. Now, they could only submit completely. After all, where there was life, there was hope. Hall Master Z. Jun Changshao said, "I'll leave these two brothers to you." TSK the Purple King sneered. "These two fellows didn't follow me back then, but now they're submitting to a human. They've lost all the face of the beast race." Outside the cave, Shi Jingxian sat quietly on a huge rock. A breeze blew her soft hair, revealing a delicate and beautiful face. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changshao walked out of the cave and sat next to her. He handed over 2 space rings and said, "There are 200,000 natural spirit stones in here. Consider it as compensation for the dead disciples of your sect." Shi Jingxian said seriously, "I'm already very grateful that Jun Patriarch brought me here to seek justice for them. I can't accept these spirit stones." "Take it." Jun Changshao stuffed the 2 space rings into her hands. "This. All right." Shi Jingxian didn't hesitate and accepted the space rings. Then, she gently lowered her head. Her pretty face immediately turned red because her fingers had touched his just now. Jun Changshao said, "The world hasn't been peaceful recently. Palace Master Shi, please remind your sect's disciples not to go down the mountain without permission to experience danger again." "Okay." Shi Jingxian nodded. As the 4th-rate palace master of Ingenious Flower Palace, she was very opinionated. However, in front of Jun Changshao, she seemed to have turned into a weak little girl. "Let's see." Jiangya, who had just returned from plundering resources, leaned against a tree in the distance and said, "Patriarch and Palace Master Shi are a good match." Jun Patriarch. Shi Jingxian was puzzled. "You seriously injured the Demon Emperor's gate. Why didn't you take the opportunity to kill him and get rid of evil for the falling star continent?" Jun Changshao said seriously, "There's still a use for him." "Oh." Shi Jingxian didn't ask further. She tidied up her hair that was messed up by the wind and said with a smile, "Jun Patriarch, do you have time to tell me a story?" "What do you want to hear?" Jun Changshao asked. There were many good things in Spirit Crossing Valley. He couldn't find all of them in a short time, so he had a lot of time now. Shi Jingxian said with a smile, "I'll listen to whatever you say." Jun Changshao sat down cross-legged and hugged his calves. "Then let's continue with the story of the cowherd and the weaver girl." "Okay." By the way, Jun Changshao began to explain with deep emotion. Shi Jingxian found out that a man and a woman in love could only see each other once a year due to the rules of heaven. She couldn't help but cry. Why can't lovers grow old together? She's crying. Looks like my storytelling skills are quite good. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changshao looked at the sky and realized that it was still early, so he said, "Let me tell you another story about the Titanic." System, telling a sad love story in front of a sensitive girl, and taking pride in making her cry, was simply too fucking crazy. The Titanic? It was a very, very big ship. It could carry many people. Time passed, and night came. Shi Jingxian entered the temporary wooden house. Her eyes were still filled with tears. Jun Changshao stood up from the giant rock and stretched. "Even if I don't want to be a patriarch, I can still be a storyteller." "Patriarch." Old Ding said, "How should we deal with Yuan Gongzi?" Jun Changshao said, "Take him for our own use." Although he didn't have much contact with Yuan Gongzi, this person was able to become the vice gate master of the Demon Emperor's gate. He must be good at management. If he could subdue him, it would definitely help him in the future. Old Yuan. Jun Changshao walked into another cave and said, "Have you thought it through?" Yuan Gongzi sat cross-legged with his hair disheveled. He raised his head and said with a firm gaze, "From the day I, Yuan Feng, became a demon cultivator, I vowed to only be loyal to the Demon Emperor and not to anyone else. My disciple has already inherited the Demon Emperor's inheritance. Your loyalty to me is her loyalty, so it doesn't count as breaking the oath." Jun Changshao said. Yuan Gongzi said, "Although that girl has the innate demon body and the Demon Emperor's eye, she did not inherit the Demon Emperor's inheritance." "Why do you say that?" Jun Changshao asked. "Because," Yuan Gongzi clenched his fists. His eyes flashed with unparalleled admiration. "The Demon Emperor is a peerless genius. He will never lower himself to anyone." Whoosh! Jun Changshao walked over and pulled him in front of him. He said coldly, "Meng Ying is only 10 years old. She doesn't have absolute strength. If you want her to be like the demon emperor and become an enemy of the world, then you're sending her to her death. Yuan Gongzi was silent. Of course. Jun Changshao let go of him and said, "The sect of all times never forces people to do things against their will. If you don't want to join, you can leave now." Chapter 1007. Patriarch. Jiang Ye stood outside the cave, his spiritual sense spreading out, and said, "That guy really left, he didn't even look back." Jun Changshao said, "The knot in his heart hasn't been untied, it's a bit difficult to join the sect of all times. Should we capture him and lock him in a cell for Zhao Daodu to counsel him?" Jiang Ye suggested. "No need." Jun Changshao said, "Everyone has their own aspirations, we can't force them." Dai Lu. Under the night sky, the Spirit Crossing Valley seemed exceptionally cold. Yuan Gongzi walked with difficulty. He was not afraid of this environment, because he was already used to it. He was just worried that Jun Changshao would suddenly catch up. Fortunately, when he walked out of the valley, the other party did not appear. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. However, when Yuan Gongzi stabilized his body and looked at the endless darkness in front of him, he couldn't help but say with a downcast expression, "Where should I go?" He had always lived in the Demon Emperor's Gate and treated it as his home. Now that he had been misunderstood, he definitely couldn't go back. "Young master!" Suddenly, a shout came from behind him. Yuan Gongzi turned around and saw the black-clothed old man walking over quickly while covering his butt. He asked in surprise, "Elder Lin, why are you here?" Elder Lin said, "Wherever young master goes, Lin Lan, swear to follow you to the death." After Jun Changshao took away Yuan Gongzi, he quietly followed. The Demon Emperor's Gate could not accommodate the young master, so naturally, it could not accommodate his trusted aide. If he stayed in the Demon Emperor's Gate, he would definitely die a horrible death. "Elder Lin." Yuan Gongzi roughly guessed the reason and said guiltily, "I've dragged you down." Elder Lin said, "Young master, you can't say that, my life was saved by you, even if I have to climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a sea of fire, I won't refuse." What was a friend in need? This was it. Yuan Gongzi was deeply moved. He wanted to hug her and burst into tears. "Young master, why did Jun Changshao release you?" Elder Lin was puzzled. "This is not the place to talk. Let's go, we have to leave quickly before that guy catches up." "All right." The two of them hurriedly left. After dawn, they stopped in a cave a few hundred miles away. "Young master," Elder Lin asked, "what plans do you have for the future?" "AI. Yuan Gongzi sighed and said, "I can't go back to the Demon Emperor's Gate, I can only wander the world." When he thought about how he had worked so hard for the sect for so many years, only to end up in such a situation, he felt pained and unwilling. Elder Lin said, "We are demonic cultivators. If we were to wander the pugilistic world, we would be surrounded and attacked by the righteous sects if we weren't careful." Yuan Gongzi frowned. Only now did he realize that after leaving the Demon Emperor's Gate, even an ordinary life on the Starfall continent would be a luxury. "Elder Lin." Yuan Gongzi had no idea what to do. He asked, "Do you have any suggestions?" "Young master," Elder Lin said seriously, "we can't stay here. We can go to the East Sea." "The East Sea?" Yuan Gongzi said, "The fishery province?" "That's right," Elder Lin said. Yuan Gongzi said bitterly, "The fishery province of the East Sea is so far away, and there are all kinds of disasters on the sea. I'm afraid that we will die in the sea before we reach it." Although the fishery province of the East Sea was far away from the continent, with the level of martial arts in this world, one should be able to come and go freely. However, they rarely interacted with each other. That was because there were a lot of natural disasters in the endless sea that connected the two places. Storms and typhoons were the lowest level. Ice blades and fireballs were just normal operations. Since ancient times, some people might have successfully reached the fishery province of the East Sea, but 90% of them would die on the way. Even the half-saints and wusheng were no exceptions. It could be said that the sea between the continent and the fishery province of the East Sea was even more terrifying than the Grand Line in One Piece. Since the War of Emperors, the continent had been torn apart, and the number of warriors who died in it was like the sands of the Ganges. Of course, some people could rely on their excellent sailing skills to avoid all kinds of natural disasters and successfully travel between the continent and the fishery province of the East Sea, but only a few could do so. Elder Lin said, "Here, we not only have to be careful of the famous orthodox sects, but also of Jun Changshao and the Demon Emperor's Gate. Why don't we go to the fishery province of the East Sea and take a gamble?" "Yes," Yuan Gongzi said bitterly, "we also have to be careful of Jun Changshao and the Demon Emperor's Gate." With his understanding of the sect master, since he mistook him as a traitor, he would definitely be killed once he found him. Elder Lin added, "What's more, there are also forces in the fishery province of the East Sea. With young master's talent, you may be able to make a name for yourself there." This sentence deeply stimulated Yuan Gongzi. After a short consideration, he made up his mind and said, "Okay, let's go to the fishery province of the East Sea." His heart was tired. Especially when he fought against the sect of all times, he lost miserably every time. Therefore, the only way was to stay away from the troublesome places, stay away from Jun Changshao, and travel further to the East Sea. Spirit Crossing Valley. As soon as the sun rose, Jun Changshao received Li Luochio's message. Recently, more message bottles had floated to the southeast, all of which were Master Fan's cries for help. He was very concerned about one of the messages. The content was, "The fishery province of the East Sea is brewing a great plan that will affect the survival of the 9 states. If you want to know, send someone to rescue me." A great plan? About the survival of the 9 states? Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, "Is it that scary?" The forces of the 9 states also knew about this, but they didn't take it seriously. After all, the Demon Emperor's Gate took the opportunity to cause trouble when the plain battlefield opened. It was also related to the survival of the 9 states. They didn't have time to rescue Master Fan. Patriarch Elder Ding said, "Master Fan kept asking for help in the form of message bottles. I'm afraid something really happened." Jun Changshao said, "Let's go and take a look." When he said, "Let's go," he had to wait for all the epic tasks to be completed, so he was destined to wait for another half a year. Yuan Gongzi and Elder Lin arrived at the southeast a few days later. After asking around, they found an expert with century-old sailing skills and then crossed the sea by boat. It was strange. Standing in the endless sea, Yuan Gongzi calmed down and thought to himself, "Is it because I'm no longer an enemy of that guy and am relieved?" Jun Changshao. He stood up and shouted toward the continent, "I can't beat you. I don't want to play with you anymore. Goodbye. Never see you again." Spirit Crossing Valley. Relying on Jiangya's powerful primordial spirit, the resources hidden in the deepest part of the valley were all swept away. Jun Changshao happily ordered to return to the sect. Puff! Puff! The black shadow of the demon ridge flapped its wings and carried him and Shi Jingxian to the southwest Yangzhou. The two of them had a chance to be alone again. However, Jun Changshao was silent all the way. Instead, he opened the alchemy pavilion and automatically matched the top-grade body-shaping pill. What's this day trip to the underworld? Ding! With a thought, it was automatically matched. Ha! Seeing that it was matched in the alchemy pavilion, Jun Changshao said in surprise, "Pills?" He clicked on the newly appeared day trip to the underworld. Not only did it have the required number of medicinal herbs, but it also had a brief introduction. The content was day trip to the underworld, also known as the underworld pill. After a martial artist takes it, he will enter a state of suspended animation for 24 hours. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched slightly and said, "After taking it, he will enter a state of suspended animation for 24 hours. It's really a day trip to the underworld." Chapter 1008. The one-day trip to the underworld was used to pretend to be dead. This made Jun Changshao very depressed. After all, wasn't it good to be alive? Why did he have to experience the feeling of death? Speaking of death, Gosheng had experience because he had really died once. That feeling, he had forgotten. The system said, this kind of pill can be a life-saving trump card. You mean to say that when I encounter a strong enemy, I can use the pill to pretend to be dead? To avoid a disaster? Jun Changshao said. That's right, the system said. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, this can save my life, but to pretend to be dead for 24 hours, even if the enemy doesn't crush me to pieces, it's very easy to be eaten by wild beasts in the wild. The system said, so it depends on where to take it and whether it's used properly. Jun Changshao carefully looked at the ingredients for refining the one-day trip to the underworld pill and found that not only did he have them, but he could also refine dozens of them. Hence, he pressed confirm. Ding! A few minutes later, one pill was refined. So fast? Jun Changshao was instantly stunned. Although his alchemy skills were improving day by day due to frequent refinement, this pill formula had just been obtained after all. He hadn't even gone through the procedures, yet it was done in a few minutes. The pace was too fast. The underworld pill was about the same size as the spirit gathering pill. It was gray in color and looked like a failed product at first glance. Jun Changshao took it out and sniffed it. There was no special smell, so he muttered, such a small thing, will I fake death immediately after eating it? Host, you can try. Get lost. He definitely had to try, but he had to find someone else. For example, Hall Master Z, Yi Xingchen, or He Wudi. How could he take the lead? Furthermore, as the leader of a sect, time was money. To die for 24 hours was definitely a waste of time. Ding! Side mission activated. Another mission. Jun Changshao opened the mission panel. The content was host, please take the one-day trip to the underworld within 2 minutes. Ha ha ha. The system laughed without restraint. The corner of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched violently as he held the Yellow Springs pill. The side quest actually forced him to pretend to be dead. This was too bad. Jun Patriarch. Shi Jingxian, who was sitting at the side, asked curiously, are you holding a medicinal pill? Yes. Looking at the mission timer ticking away, Jun Changshao hesitated for a moment before throwing the underworld pill into his mouth and swallowing it. I've already died once, why would I be afraid of dying a second time? Plop. Jun Changshao's thoughts dissipated and he fell sideways. Coincidentally, he landed on Shi Jingxuan's legs. The girl's unique fragrance drifted over. Unfortunately, he couldn't smell it because she was already dead. The protagonist had died. Finish scattering flowers. Jun Changshao suddenly fell and was even on her leg. Shi Jingxian felt as if she had been electrocuted. She instinctively pushed him away in a panic, but she didn't control her strength well and directly pushed him down. Swish, his head was facing down as he fell at an extremely fast speed. The flying Xiao Maxian was puzzled. Why did Master jump down? The Purple King and Old Ding also discovered this but didn't think too much of it. After all, with the Patriarch's cultivation, he could use all sorts of different postures to fall down. Bang! Finally, in front of everyone's eyes, Gosheng fell from the sky, his entire head caved in. The Purple King and Old Ding were both dumbfounded. Was the Patriarch a cheap bastard? The moment he touched the ground he didn't stop in advance and instead deliberately used his head to hit the ground? Wait a moment. The observant Zhang Ye frowned. He said in alarm, the Patriarch doesn't have any signs of life. The Purple King and Old Ding were also the first to realize this. Their complexions changed and they quickly flew down, pulling Jun Changshao out of the ground as if he were a radish. Shwa! Ding Xingwang held onto the Patriarch's wrist with one hand and placed the index finger of his other hand under his nose. When he couldn't feel any pulse or breathing, his spiritual sea seemed to explode. He grieved and said, "The patriarch is cold." Sect of all times, medical peak. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the other disciples were anxiously pacing back and forth outside the medical hall. Creak. After a moment, the door opened. Elder Wei walked out, his eyes red. His voice trembled as he said, The patriarch, he doesn't have any signs of life. His soul has already returned to the highest heavens. Impossible. Impossible. Xiao Ziji crazily rushed in. When he saw the lifeless Jun Changshao lying on the hospital bed, he fell to his knees and cried out in grief, "Patriarch!" Woo woo woo. Lu Wancher also rushed in. The little girl's mourning belt was already tied around her waist. She cried, "Patriarch, you died so tragically." Outside the medical hall, Li Qingyang sat on the ground, paralyzed. It was as if his soul had flown away. He said, How is this possible? This can't be real, this can't be real, dead?" Yi Xingchen was also stunned. The sky above the sect of all times was suddenly enveloped in an oppressive and sorrowful aura. On the same day, the main hall was cleaned up. A coffin was placed in the middle. Jun Changshao lay inside with a peaceful expression. He was really no different from a dead person. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others knelt outside in mourning clothes. They cried until the sky darkened. Their snot and tears flew everywhere. Elder Wei, Old Ding, and the others were also extremely sorrowful. Since he was dead, they had to follow tradition. Thus, they discussed whether to cremate him or bury him. Is he really dead? Outside the main hall, Lu Qianqian stood where she was. She did not wear mourning clothes, nor did she kneel in front of the coffin. Because in the sect of all times, she was the only one who doubted Jun Changxiao's death. After all, he was perfectly fine. How could he suddenly die? Palace Master Shi. In order to understand the truth, she went to the guest's room and asked, "What happened at that time?" Shi Jingxian was already sobbing. Although she had accidentally pushed Jun Changxiao down, he did not fall to his death. However, she still blamed Go Sheng's death on herself. At this moment, she was already heartbroken. Jun Sect Master swallowed an elixir and suddenly fell on top of me. I panicked at that time and accidentally pushed him down. After that, woo, he died. Pill? Lu Qianqian frowned slightly. Could it be that the pill was poisonous? He died immediately after taking it. However, even if he really died from poison, the patriarch should not have died so peacefully. According to Lu Qianqian's understanding of Jun Changshao, she knew that he would never do something like seeking death. Therefore, there must be something wrong with the pill. Miao Saifeng, who is locked in the cell, knows about poison. She should be able to tell if the patriarch died from poison. Everyone in the sect was grieving because of the patriarch's death. Only the eldest disciple remained absolutely calm. Her temperament was indeed quite strong. In the main hall, Miao Saifeng placed her hand on Jun Changxiao's pulse and said lightly, "This guy is poisoned." As an expert in poison, she could detect a trace of undetectable poison in Jun Changxiao's body. However, Miao Saifeng was very puzzled. This kind of poison in the body could not cause any harm. Its effect was only, he's not dead. It's just that his life force was temporarily suppressed by the poison. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others who had cried until the sky turned dark heard this and widened their eyes. "Can you put the sword down?" "No." Lu Qianqian still held the sword and placed it on Miao Saifeng's neck. In the dark environment, the seemingly peaceful Jun Changshao suddenly opened his eyes. A system notification sounded in his ears. Ding! Side quest completed. Obtain 10,000 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 57650700000. Memories flooded into his sea of consciousness, reminding Jun Changshao of the scene where he decisively took the underworld pill to complete the quest. Thus, he was speechless. This quest is really fucked up. Wait. Where am I? Jun Changshao raised his hand and touched a board. He collapsed. Coffin board. Fuck. Are you treating me like a dead person and burying me? Bang! Spiritual energy exploded and the coffin exploded. Elder Wei and the others who were in the hall saw Jun Changshao come back to life and were overjoyed. The patriarch is not dead, the patriarch is really not dead. Patriarch! Lu Wancher cried, woo-woo. You almost scared me to death. Don't just stand there. Li Luoqiu ordered Li Tian and the others, quickly remove the mourning hall and take away all the paper money and incense burners. In a short while, the hall was cleaned up. After Shi Jingxian heard the news, she hurried over. Seeing Jun Changshao safe and sound sitting on the main seat and talking with Elder Wei and the others, she immediately burst into tears. Cough. Elder Wei coughed lightly and left with the others. In the hall, only Jun Changshao and Shi Jingxian were left. Sorry, the situation was a bit urgent, so I didn't have time to explain. The voice suddenly stopped. Because Shi Jingxian had already rushed over and threw herself into Jun Changshao's arms. She cried, if you die, I will feel guilty for the rest of my life. Jun Changshao stood in place like a wooden chicken. After a while, he gently placed his hands on her back and gently smiled, silly, how can I die? Hua! Suddenly, a basin of cold water was poured over. Jun Changshao, who was lying in the coffin, shivered and then opened his eyes. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, Li Fei, and the others' heads appeared in his vision. The patriarch is awake. The patriarch is really not dead. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.